not responding. Well, it's thinking.
Why are you
So
calling
you
me?
go to the C drive like you would do courthouse tax. You click on courthouse, and down on the list is the one that says unsatisfied summary.
Can you hear us?
And then if you click on that, it will pull up the unsatisfied. There's two of them, one for budgetary and one for non-budgetary.
Okay,
So that will tell you.
Morning.
okay,
Okay,
sounds good.
okay.
Oh, now we go, here we go. Oh, my, connection was lost. That's why.
So we get you this morning? Ah, so we're privileged.
Yes, Dar's granddaughter has mass
Okay.
at Gary today, so it's a big deal for those kids.
Yep.
And after this, I get to lead a facility for all of our network CEOs.
Okay.
So we'll see if I get lost when I'm giving the tour around the hospital.
Oh, the other day, we found our way around it.
Yeah, that's, I bet, there's just so many elevators and stuff until like just.
Hey Kyle, you wanna
There is a
talk
lot.
so we can see if
There's
your
so much
audio's
that I
on?
haven't even fit in yet.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything, Tammy, on the taxes?
A 181.
Yeah. No.
I think it's supposed to be in, I'm hoping today. You mean in the Senate?
Yeah,
Well, which one? Okay, there's two now. Do you know there's another one?
Did you hear?
no,
So-
I barely know about the one.
Yeah, Friday they proposed a new one,
I have done that
1145.
Don't you
for years.
It's county levies, it's in there.
Really just got my hands last week too.
We're gonna
We're
wait
gonna
next
limit it
week,
to
or unless Kyle got somebody lined up. He's
And
on
then we're limited to $3,000.
it. So.
So it takes away some of our supplemental levies, not all, some of it, and then it's gonna list our increase to 102.5%
That last
for
week?
1 year.
Okay.
So we won't be able to go over 2.5% for 1 year if this passes.
They stole my stamper, so.
So.
Yeah, because the year,
Didn't go to 23?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is that
yeah.
accurate?
Kyle went and stamped it last week and went, oh,
It
that's,
depends what the board
22.
decides to come up
Yeah, I
with.
see it right here.
You know, what they would limit.
Okay.
We turned it, it just didn't go any
Either one is
further.
fine. Okay, yep, absolutely.
Morning, sir.
So do you think we'll move by the 350 deadline?
Did you all put that on
I hope so, because I have to know
claims?
by the end of this
Or
week
did it?
on 180.
Well,
That'll be
that's,
next week, isn't it?
well, that's handwritten things, but.
On 181, if it, I don't get this week, the deadline's still March 31st, so I have to publish. If it passes, it extends the deadline to April 30th.
Well, that's for mileage,
So,
So that's gonna affect you guys too.
for. Yeah.
Sounds like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, cause you ain't gonna be able to go over 2.5% over your last ask.
probably did.
We'll be able to go 2.5% over what?
Your last
the year
ask.
before.
The year
like,
Okay,
before.
got it.
Yeah,
2.5% of the.
you can have
of the rate
102
or
point,
the dollar amount.
the dollar amount.
Dollar amount, okay,
Yeah, no matter what our levies are, you can't ask for more money.
got it, okay,
Over 2.
okay.
Yeah,
Last one, then over.
This is all.
it's a really good rule.
Yeah.
It's just gonna cause heartburn and all the
Yeah,
county auditors and supervisors.
and what have they been doing for the last year, that suddenly now, before the
Oh.
15 deadline?
Oh, that's what I said too, and not only one, but now 2.
Oh, he needs to sign this, I see. Yeah.
Well, then if this one don't go anywhere in the Senate file, they'll have another one.
They will?
Sure.
Well, you let us know.
I will, yes, I will. Hopefully, we'll know something today.
We have our board meeting next Tuesday.
Okay,
Okay.
hopefully we should know by then.
I have stuff.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I can take those for you, thank you.
I'm going to get a copy for efficient purposes, the rest are just copies. But he called me Friday,
Okay,
or yesterday.
okay, all right,
We'll be show up this morning, so.
sounds good, thank you. It's the second quote for the, it's,
Okay,
or for the, what is it, yeah, at the emergency management.
yeah, so this one is yours?
No, that's fine.
I see.
Oh. It is 8 o'clock. Do we stand to do the pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will call the meeting to order. And we'll have public discussion. Is there anybody here for public discussion? Mr. Casey?
Yes, I'd just like to make a comment. I was sitting on the board for 4 years, and you got the spot. Hopefully you back these people like I did, put up safety and everything. Now I'm one of them. I'm about half, 3/4 miles from that pipeline. So I just hope you're a man of your word. Like you said, you're gonna stick up for the people. You take care of these people. The other one's got, That's all I gotta say.
Yep, you bet.
Anybody else here for public discussion? Can't see behind the pole, but
No.
I don't see any hands.
if not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda and minutes dated February 7th?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Wactor, second by
I'll second
Nat. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
it. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. Are the road crew coming up today?
I think so. I haven't heard that they're not.
Should we go ahead with Kossuth Regional? We'll go ahead with Kossuth Regional update.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Just gonna give a couple updates on what's going on at Kossuth Regional Health Center. For the month of December, we did end up seeing an operating loss of 1.28%. We did have really high patient volumes again in December, and we're still seeing them now. It's just really becoming very consistent on what we're seeing up on the third floor, not in terms of any one sort of sickness, but we're really just seeing a lot more people being sick for longer periods of time. So, some days having as many as 22 inpatients on our third floor, when for the most part in previous years we would run about 13. So looking really high there. Kind of in terms of that operating loss, really just a lot of that is salaries. Really, it's going to take time for the market to be back in line with what we can charge to our patients, and then just because since we're Medicare reimbursed, it's going to take about a year or so for our reimbursement to kind of line up with our costs. working to get our fiscal year 24, but budget put together. Right now, looking at about a 2.5% operating loss, still tweaking that a little bit. And then of course our tax aid for a portion that could end up with a change. So a couple other things going on. We did bring on a contracted echo tech to perform echo scans. That's been a role we've been trying to recruit for several years now. So it is great that we have someone to perform those scans so that we don't have to send those out. He is contracted, so definitely paying a double the price of someone that we could bring on our own, and he is here for just 4 months. So the goal is to try and keep him here, or to try and bring one on in the meantime. Another project that we're working on now is we are going to open up a durable medical equipment store within our hospital. It is a joint venture with Mercy One. So that will be a storefront shop to get some, your pumps, your CPAPs, and those sort of things. So that's going to replace the loss that we had in this town. I think in the last year, I think the business was called Arrow Care. That was here in town, that had closed here in the last year. So looking to open up that storefront hopefully in July. So that'll be great for all of our patients. Any questions for me?
No, I just looking through it. Your debt service coverage is adequate and your births are up again. So
Birds, yeah.
everything looks pretty good. Surgicals look good.
Yep, yeah, the births have been pretty consistent, and
Yep.
yeah, I think our doctors get a little exhausted of them sometimes, but definitely good that people are choosing to give birth here in town.
Emergency room visits, they're not going down either.
No, they're not. Our ER is just getting busier and busier. Our doctors work on call overnight, and it's really becoming less of on call and really just becoming a shift. It's really packed there.
Yeah. No, everything looks good. Just turn it into a profit.
That's right. Yep, that's the goal.
Any other questions, comments?
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
We have a monthly update from the road foremen, and you got the temporary road foreman there.
Yeah, good morning. I don't know if Carter and Josh had an opportunity to meet our road foreman yet. I think last month we had a snow event, so we had to cancel that meeting. But Scott Ziesman over here, Josh Wachter, and Carter Nat, Scott, kind of the south portion of the roads. And then we got Brian Blair, he's our assistant foreman. Brian works out of Sway City. Bill Marin is on vacation today. Bill works out of Bancroft, so we will get him in the next meeting. So.
Roads are gonna get soft.
Yeah, we don't need this drizzle.
No.
Our grade would be good.
Yeah.
It's too early for a hard rain.
Well, we really don't need rain right now. We
Unless
need
it's been
frost.
thawed. So,
I had good comments this week from, people who, of course, the roads were bad in the past couple weeks, you know, getting there and just doing what you can to take care of things. People appreciated that, so I had a couple reach out to me. Thank you.
we've had a lot of situations, people, on grain, some of the hog facilities, hauling feed and, different things like that, but yesterday when I was out driving, I thought, everything, the roads that I drove on, were able to be passed.
I do think it helped to blade the humps off.
Yeah.
You didn't have water setting in them.
Oh, yeah, just level them off.
Any questions for the foreman?
No. I got your number.
Good enough. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We have some handwritten claims. One,
From the county attorney's office, $150. Should be in your packet.
it was in our packet. Is there a motion to approve the handwritten claim?
I'll make the motion.
Carter, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Proctor? Any questions on it or any comments? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You gonna get me a new stamper?
Yeah, they've ordered it, so it should. Does everybody have this?
Yeah.
I think that I just got that.
It's the cover letter. It was in the way.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is to approve probationary pay raise for housekeeping. That would be Deb.
Yeah, so she's been here 6 months now, so we'd like to move her up to $16 an hour and then approve her 1 year, which will be in July, to put her up to $17 an hour. And then she'll be caught up for her probationary period. So I would ask for approval of both of those steps, one that will take effect immediately, the other one in July.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Lecter. Do I have a second? Second by Jack. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next on the agenda, we have furnace. Was one of the, oh, there's Willie.
The one quote is in your packets, and the other quote the gentleman brought in this morning should be in your yellow envelope.
It's like Dublin Plumbing. So I'd make a motion to accept Dublin Plumbing's bid of $15,503.
Mr. Plath has made a motion to accept the lowest bid. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Nat. Any discussion?
Yeah, I got just one little point to bring up. Why did we go out of town to get that second bid?
All right, where are you from, Mr. Swift, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I'm Jeff Swift. I'm from Emmitsburg, Iowa.
Your kids go to Garrigan?
Yep.
Oh, that's where I know you.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
yep.
I have 3 there now. My oldest
Okay.
one graduated last year from Garrigan, but I live in Emmitsburg. So yeah, I live in Palo Alto County.
I guess
just gotta-
either way,
I mean,
I guess there's a,
explain, I mean, I got a phone call Friday asking if I would look at it. So I called Willie yesterday and he said he'd let me take a look at it. It was fine. I just put a price together, I guess.
This ain't nothing against him by no means. This goes back, we got our rear ends handed to us for going out of the county to have business done. And now we have somebody doing it right here in front of us.
well, I guess regardless, there's about a $5,000 difference in the bids.
Yeah, like I said, I've had Swift do other stuff here.
Yeah.
That's not the point at all. It ain't nothing against Swift.
No, not at all.
I guess his point is you're trying to be consistent and keep the bids within the county. Why did you go out of the county?
I guess I didn't get this bid.
Is Kyle online?
Is Kyle online? Did he do
Yeah.
it?
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, so I guess Kyle, the question is why'd you go out of the county for a bid when, we got reprimanded for going out of the county for a bid on other things, so.
I did check with another company that does plumbing, heating stuff here in the county. They said this was above their skill set or expertise, lack of a better term, and recommended the other company, which is obviously Swift, and I reached them. So I figured at the bare minimum, it is worth investigating the other option. And I think in regards to consistency, I thought it would have been fairly clear that we should be looking for multiple prices from previous encounters, but there was only one presented to us last week. So that's what I was looking for as a comparable.
And excuse me.
Go ahead.
Can I say something? I don't know what the other unit was bid or anything, so I just picked the brands I usually pick. Johnson Controls, York, or American Standard. Trane is what I usually sell. Trane is usually towards the higher end, but you guys probably know that because you put some on over across the street. They're well-made unit. I would, there's a couple options I had on there for economizer, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it brings in outside air for a facility for free cooling. You save money on the utilities that way. And then I had an ad on there for an air scrubber that kills viruses and bacteria and things of that nature, since it is an emergency management facility, something to look at, but I'm not getting the bid, so I just figured I'd throw those out there just for consideration for you folks.
Thank you for your bid.
No problem.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Willie, you got anything else? If not, we will go to our next.
No,
We gotta
vote.
Oh, we got to vote yet. Do I have a?
So can you guys the difference or whatever? Because I obviously don't have that in front of me. I thought I heard Carter say it was about $5,000 difference. Is that correct?
From Algona Plumbing and Heating was $15,503, and the bid from Swift Air was $20,550.
You get that?
I heard the numbers. Yeah.
Okay, then we'll go back to any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Kyle,
Aye.
did you voted no or yes?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carried unanimous. Thank you, guys. Next, approval of grant funds to be used on the 2023 Suburban. Bill?
That's me. So the new Suburban purchase was paid for through grant dollars. That grant dollars that we received for the purchase of that vehicle was $70,000. The purchase price of the vehicle was $54,000. So we have, you know, a little shy of $16,000 left of the grant funds, which was designated for the upfitting of the vehicle, which is the lights, the siren. We have to put in a partition between the front and the back. So for hauling these mental health patients, they're separated from the driver's compartment. So that total upfit package, which I included a copy of that in your packet, comes to a total of $16,127. So it'll be just a couple $100 over what's available in the grant funds, and then there's room in my budget to absorb that, you know, final few dollars to complete this. I'd rather be a little over on the cost than under and have to do a grant report and return funds back to the grant company. So it's easier to be over. Like I say, no expense to the county. This is the grant dollars that we received for the vehicle, and the upfitting was included in that cost. We have not done a budget amendment for that yet, because that grant money was received last fiscal year.
So where's the money sitting right now?
It's probably just.
In general basic? Okay.
So we do.
So we don't, if it's coming out of general basic, we don't have to do a budget amendment then? Okay.
We can do that when we do the other budget amendment at the same time, so it's nothing we need to do right away.
We can do it, you'll be doing that one in April.
Just make sure you file for a budget amendment then.
Right.
So Phil, because I have to audit the federal grants, you said that grant does include the outfitting of the vehicle as well as the purchase price?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's, I don't believe that's considered a federal grant.
Is it a state grant? Is it a state grant?
It's a state grant,
That's
came
a
from the
state
state.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
I heard it came from social services,
That's one character, that's North Iowa.
community action.
Yeah.
Does everybody understand what Phil's doing?
Yep.
Do I have a motion to approve the use of grant funds to be used to upfit the Suburban? Motion by Plath, second by Carter.
I'll second.
Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Stecker, you vote.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. Motion's unanimous. You're still up, Phil. Discussion of credit cards for Kossuth County EMS.
Credit cards, so currently, you know, the EMS department does not have credit cards. We do have a credit card in each ambulance. And what we use those for is if we get out on a transfer, you know, those transfers, we end up going to Omaha, Iowa City, Rochester. Most of those transfers we're not able to make it back home again on one tank of fuel. So that's the main reason we have the cards in the ambulances, is for that reason. And also if we take a transfer during a snowstorm or something, then we know we can get the patient to where we need to go and we cannot get back. You know, we have the ability to put our staff up in a motel so they're not out in the north trying to get back. It's nothing that we need to have immediately, but as these things come up, I just thought I would put these on the agenda and at least have a discussion. So we're not trying to do everything at the very end. It'd be nice to have one in place. We did the EMS day here last Saturday. I spent 300 and some. Just be nice to have the ability to use one.
We don't have a fund yet for it, do we? You on setup for EMS?
depends what he purchases, it would go under one of, you know, if he uses it to purchase equipment, it would fall under that. If he uses it to purchase, you know, that's how, and yes, we have this budget set up pretty much.
It's just, I know we have two things already for next week's agenda.
They issue a credit card unless we have a fund to pay for it out
Yeah,
of.
and there'll be funds, there's just
Yeah.
no money until the.
Yeah, whatever's spent on those will come out of my account.
Okay,
I'll do a claims report just like we do now, and it'll come out of my budget. Wouldn't have come out of any other funds other than mine.
Specify if it could be only be used for fuel, lodging, and special event meetings. No food or anything else.
so credit card, we're just issuing one right now. I don't think we want to issue the 7 until we have money in an account set up. And
If we get one now and then add cards to that same account, when we get closer to that one day. we'll be
Right.
ready.
But you're gonna have to bring it up again.
Okay.
Yeah. So this will just be one
Just approve
card.
the one.
Right. To be used for,
Fuel, lodging, and maybe a
training,
special meeting, or training or something.
Training.
No, not exclude food, you know, that kind of stuff.
okay. Is that your motion, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion by Plath. Second by
I'll second.
Wachter. Any more discussion?
Can you repeat what the motion is?
Motion by Plath and second by Wachter to approve one credit card for Kossuth County EMS to be used for fuel, lodging, special meetings, training, but excludes food and other uses. Charges, okay, and other charges.
You fine with that, Kyle?
Yeah.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I think Kyle voted yes.
I heard a little lie.
I did.
Carried unanimous. Oh, next thing on the agenda, you're still here, Phil.
Still here.
Yeah. EMS should apply for the Governor's Empower Rural America Incentive Pilot Program.
So the reason I put this on the agenda is it's fresh in everybody's mind. This was just held last Wednesday. Part of the grant process states that if we're interested in continuing with this process, we have to do a pre-application deadline of March 1st. So that's about 2 weeks out, that we have to have that part of the application completed. So I wanted to get it on the agenda to get you guys' feeling if we want to proceed on this or not. I can see some opportunity within the program. I also have a lot of concerns with how the program is set up and how it's.
One question I'd have, were you gonna administer it? Or do you have the time to administer it? It's gonna take time.
That's a big concern. We have a lot going on in the next 4 months to add.
The other concern I have is with possible changes in the state, reducing the amount of taxes that can be raised. I don't know, at this time, we need to try to come up with another $25,000, and then down the future, we may have to come up with another $100,000 just to keep the thing running. How many towns currently have first responders?
So currently, we have 2 communities in Kossuth County, not counting the unincorporated areas like at Irvington and St. Joe. We have 2 communities that have no response, that being Ledyard and Laverne. They don't have any response in those 2 communities at all. I can see a benefit for those that having some kind of first response. And also in some of these communities that don't have staff available during the day because they work out of the community during the daytime. They're okay at night but don't have a response, we'll put a first response there. I think in the program when he said, possible of 30 people, I think that's a far reach to what's really gonna be a reality of what we can put together for $50,000. Just the equipment in the bag, I mean, I'm thinking 3-4 grand just to have that in place per person. Or you have to have some kind of training. I don't know what the cost of that's gonna be. I mean, the idea was, we could do training in-house. But, since I started here doing EMS, we added on a medical death investigator. We're handling that. I don't know how much I can keep taking on and continue to do things well. I don't want to do a bunch of things okay. I would rather do what needs to be done and do it well. So that's a concern to me is.
Well, then you said it also would be every 2 years you have to go through and retrain or.
These people that we put out in these small areas, they may go 3 months and not have a call to respond to. I think to do this program right, we're gonna have continuing education on a quarterly basis. We can't just go 2 years and expect them to remember what we showed them 2 years ago, and they never had a hands-on experience in that 2-year time period. I think the training is gonna be more intense than that, where we're gonna have to come back every 2 years. Also concerning is, if we train these people, they do something in the field that's may cause further damage to that patient, who's liable? I know that Lieutenant Governor talked about the Good Samaritan Act. I question that because we're the ones that provided the training. How far is this Good Samaritan Act gonna go? I think there's a lot of steps to this to look at if we want to continue it. I guess today the concern is, do we want to continue the pre-application process? The full application is due May 1st. That would give us the next 2 months to determine, can we secure the funding, the match to go with this? Do we want to pursue this in Kossuth County as one of the 2 original programs in the state? Or do we want to step back and say, okay, we'll see how this goes and step in next year?
Well, for me, I think we need to wait and see if the state passes this new.
If we put $75,000 worth of equipment in Kossuth County, who's going to pay to update and upkeep that equipment next year if the grant money's gone? It's going to come into my budget, and I don't want to have to cut staffing because now we're trying to maintain equipment.
I guess that's what I would say is I think it's a very high potential opportunity. Oh, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of opportunity on the table here, and I would suggest, or I would highlight, the biggest thing we have to worry about today is the pre-application. And like Phil highlighted, if we move forward with that, it would allow us 2 months to spend more time and research and more discussions and actually figure out how this would work or what the pros and cons all really are. But from the presentation we had from the Lieutenant Governor, I feel there's a lot of potential here, and I think we could have this be a successful piece of EMS system in our county. So I would support moving forward with the pre-application.
At the present time, I think we're better off to let another county be the guinea pig and see how it works in other counties before we spend a lot of money in Kossuth County.
Well, we're not obligating money right now. We're just doing the pre-app to get us, in that start process. We have 2 months to kind of figure out where we stand, budget wise and things like that. And, if there may be more potential for help from the state as well. And they also stated that, the other 25,000 doesn't have to come from the county. It's a community thing. They want to see more people from the community, such as businesses and other entities, possibly pitch in to it too. So
I think you were listening to Phil, he is
Phil just,
concerned about time and commitment
I
on
think
his
you're
part.
concerned with the sustainability of it in the future, is that correct?
Well, even starting it.
or even started.
Well, that's where I mean,
I guess-
if you do start.
I guess would be is if the state does not continue to fund this in the future, we have equipment that we're not gonna be able to continue to maintain and leave in these communities. Either the community's gonna have to step up and pay to support that, or we donate the equipment that we purchase to schools, to businesses, to community groups, you know, around the county, and have these defibs in place around the county. I mean, there's options that we can do with that equipment.
And that's a good point, Paul, because if we do move forward with this and the grant program only goes off 1 year, we would have a potential of X number of dollars worth of equipment that would be our property. So we could use that in many, many forms or facets moving forward. So
We did just have an EMS levy, I mean,
Yeah.
for the $1.2 million or however much, I guess. For purchasing equipment, is that not enough included in any of the funding that we'll get each year to supply what we need?
According to Phil's budget, is pretty minimal.
It's pretty minimal, yeah.
Right.
That's,
So,
And until we actually have numbers, it would be a guess of projecting what future costs would be.
I hate to take on projects and not do it right.
The concern with the pilot program is, this program that either going to be doing state of Iowa. The whole state of Iowa is going to be wanting to build this program. As Carter, I don't think you were at the meeting with Lieutenant Governor, but as the Lieutenant Governor said, they have no directions or they have no guidelines for us. We have to develop everything. We have to develop the training. There is no training in place. We have to develop how to implement this, how to support it, how to carry it forward. We have no guidelines from the state other than here's an idea, see how you can build it and make it work in rural Iowa based off a program that's being run in Israel that has a population base of 1,000 people per square mile. We're going to incorporate that into a county that has a population base of 5, 6 people per square mile.
Yeah.
So and I'm not trying to downgrade his program, it does have potential. It's how much time is it going to take to implement that and do it well so other counties can benefit from it in the future.
that, plus we're still in the infancy of our trying to develop our current countywide EMS system. We don't even have that all in place yet.
There's a lot to do.
There's a lot, we have a long ways to go just to get that, wrinkles ironed out with that, and this would just throw another layer on top of that, and I just don't think Phil would have the time to throw another layer on top of what he's already doing.
I think I'd rather you spend your time.
two things I would,
Hang on,
Rather, I'm
in
doing
regards to time,
current project up and running, and then we can look into stuff like this to.
If there's concern amongst the board on, whether we should do this and we want to extend our time to make a final decision by 2 months, I can do the pre-app. I'm not saying I can't do the pre-app. I will do the pre-app. We'll get that done. I will buy us 2 months' time. Another part of this system was, and Derek's here, they presented by the Lieutenant Governor that we had to demo these 4 companies' systems before March 1st. That gives me 2 weeks to demo 4 companies' apps that they're going to use for dispatching these citizens. Run it by Derek and dispatch to make sure it works with our console to be able to communicate with dispatch. I don't know if I have 2 weeks right now to totally step back from EMS and try to implement even a pre-application. So if we're going to proceed with that, I would really support that somebody's going to have to help me get through these processes.
Well, and like I mentioned to the governor that day, I said, this still doesn't answer the question for making EMS an essential service. the state made us do it ourselves, and they're still not willing to. I told us, hey, this is the best thing you can do for us would be to give us $1 million to put into EMS to help us hire EMTs and pay your salary and buy ambulances. And he admitted, yeah, this isn't gonna help buy ambulances by any means.
Two $50,000 grants that we have to match with 25,000 isn't a lot in the whole scheme of EMS
No,
in the
but
state of Iowa.
again, we don't know what the state's gonna do with this new, filings, you know, we might, you know,
So we kind of talked this to death already, so I would make a motion that we do not.
Hey, Roger.
The
Kyle wants to say something here.
Well, I've got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
second your motion.
We have a motion and a second not to go into the EMS program. Kyle, you got some comment?
Yeah, and I think it's the owl, but if you guys are talking, it will not allow me to, so I think that's why it's cutting out on that side, but I'd have two things in regards to the time frame or the time it would take for Phil. And the first one would be, I think if the time he has available is an issue, I think we could changing things on the medical investigator side, free up some of his time in that regard. And then also in the plan for the EMS budget, there is another administrator planned and budgeted. So that was already built into that plan going forward. So I feel this would fit hand in hand. I don't know what kind of time frame commitment it would take, but I feel we'd be passing up a substantial opportunity by not moving forward. And at least the pre-application, it does not tie our hands in any regard. So I would like to see us move forward with the pre-application and do more evaluating and more discussions over the next 2 months.
Call for a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, please.
Class,
No, or yes,
Yes.
not to. move forward,
not
yes.
to move forward, okay. Nath,
Yes.
Wactor,
No.
Stecker,
No,
Jerks,
Yes. Motion carried, 3-2. Thank you, Phil. I think we were done with you now.
I think so. No, budget.
Doug Miller. You want to call Doug?
101.
Just give me a holler, let's get close for my budget stuff.
Did you have a chance to look at it?
I did, I tried to catch yesterday to go over the lesson said.
Yeah.
The only thing I have a question on
Hey,
is.
we're up to you. Yep.
We just do a transfer in with that.
Let's say it's Derek in here.
Gotcha. That was the only question I had, everything else looked good.
Doug Taggart. Hold on first. I'm planning and zoning. Told him. Okay. He was supposed to add that to the motion. Stinker.
He's still on Friday, so.
Waiting for him.
Mm-hmm. He's on his way up.
Good morning.
Morning, Doug.
Very good.
First thing is planning and zoning. Appoint Steve, and we didn't get Jim on. Heldorfer in with Steve, or,
I have a motion to approve both of them.
do you? Okay.
Yes. It should be in your,
Both to the planning and zoning commission.
yeah.
Yes.
Might be in his packet. Engineer.
Here's just
Okay.
a location map provided originally in 2021 showing the three members of where they're located in Kossuth County. So I just updated that to show where Jim and Steve are located. In your electronic folder there's a motion to approve Steve Strucker of West Bend, Iowa, to the Kossuth County Planning and Zoning Commission. And there's another motion to approve and appoint Jim Heldorfer of Bancroft, Iowa, to the Kossuth County Planning and Zoning Commission. So there's
Okay, I got it.
two separate motions.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yes.
I'll make the motion to appoint Steve Stricker to planning and zoning commission.
Why don't you make a motion to do both of them?
Oh, all right, I'll make a motion to appoint Steve
Do you need
Stricker.
separate?
Well, he needs a separate motion.
You need a separate one?
It does not matter to me. I prepared it as two motions.
Okay,
And
we'll
certainly,
do two.
Okay.
However you would like to choose.
Yeah, we'll do two. Okay, Mr. Knapp, you said for Steve?
Yep.
I'll second your motion. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. I didn't hear him.
I'll make a motion to appoint Heldorfer to the committee.
I have a motion
Commission.
on the floor to appoint James Heldorfer. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Knapp. Any discussion?
That was me.
Oh, that was after. You gotta talk louder. Any discussion?
Yes, I would just say Jim is in the room right there,
Right.
so he is present. I don't know, thank you for
Yes, thank you.
your interest, Jim.
And his wife is even with him for moral support. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And thank you, Jim,
You're welcome.
for volunteering.
And Kyle did say yes for both.
You did?
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We have planning our zoning,
Pardon me?
construction in the road right away. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
okay. We have two requests, one from Iowa Lakes Electric Cooperative and one from BevCom. I'll do the Iowa Electric Light and Power, or Iowa Lakes Electric Cooperative. They have two separate permits. We combine them into one motion. The first would be on 120th Avenue. They need to, they're replacing a single phase to a three-phase. They're gonna be boring underneath of, the plan is to bore under 480th Street, 470th Street, and 120 Avenue, and then A21 to service a house there, a building site. And then their second one is to reconstruct or some of their power line right south of Lead Yard, which would be on 450th Street. And I would recommend that the board approve of both of these requests.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the construction in the right of way.
Motion by Wachter. Second
Second.
by Knapp. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Stecker, they're in your area.
He
I
said
take that as
yes.
Motion carried unanimous. Discussion with County
We do
engineer.
have one other, BevCom of Blue Earth, Minnesota. They have requested to plow communication cable on 140th Avenue from a pedestal, on A16 and then north to Minnesota, a little bit short. But again, I would recommend that the board would approve of this request as well.
So we're approving Minnesota too,
This would be just getting it into Minnesota.
I'll make a motion to approve DevCom's permit. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Wactor. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. Mr. Stecker?
Yes.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, we need some signatures here, Roger. Right, I don't have them marked out. There we go, sorry. I think you know where that is.
We're in no hurry.
There's that one. And there's that one. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
We didn't have this one.
Yeah, we did.
Point planning and zoning commissioner.
322.
Okay,
We did.
okay. Construction in the right of way, we did,
Just completed.
and now we're up to anything else with the county, our zoning.
We are, right now, still searching for a mechanic in our mechanic shop. We had a loader go down yesterday afternoon. It's on a trailer, last I heard, at our mechanic shop, something, I think, a transmission, hopefully just a coolant hose went out on that, but I haven't heard since, so what the status of that is, I do not know. Gravel roads, right now, we're watching them. Whenever there's heavy traffic, we do end up seeing some damage. We're trying to repair it accordingly. It's one of those things where sometimes we do a little bit more harm than good if we go out and repair those. But if people go out when the ground is frozen in the morning, early morning, let it freeze overnight, that seems to help. But we are trying to keep up on that. Planning and zoning, we got the new members now. We do have a meeting of Planning and Zoning Commission, February 27th at 5 o'clock to review and evaluate the proposed amendment to the Kossuth County ordinance. I do have some notices, if anyone would like them, I'll just read them right here. Email that to Jim. Okay, thanks. And we still do need one more person for Board of Adjustment. Kossuth Waste Management Association, we are having that meeting, and that is March 1, Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So that's a little bit of a summary of where we're at right now.
Any prospects for the Board of Adjustment?
I do not.
We got a whole bunch of people sitting in here, maybe one of them volunteered to be on the Board of Adjustment.
I don't see any hands.
I don't see any hands, no. I didn't really plan on it. Anything else, Doug?
I do not have anything else.
Any questions from the board for Doug? If not, thank you very much, Doug.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We are up to Summit. And Steve, Are you here today? You're the one that, or who's the spokesperson? You're gonna do it today.
Did somebody tell you about?
No.
Did I anybody ask you to do?
So, and Kyle can kind of speak to this, we do have another person on, Dan,
On Zoom?
on the Teams meeting, so.
Okay.
Okay, so you have two people on Teams meeting,
Okay,
so you're gonna have to talk loud enough so they can hear you off the owl.
okay.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll do my best. Just let me know if y'all can't hear me.
Okay?
All right, here you go. Okay. So these are just a few handouts we have for you guys. One of them you probably, or actually two of them you've seen before. One of them's a map. And then the other one is the Iowa State handout that I believe I handed out last time we were here. So it just has a little bit more information. And then there's a new one that we'll go over today. So
Would you introduce yourself?
yes,
And who's there sitting next to you? If they're gonna speak, please introduce them.
Yes, so I'll start by reintroducing myself. My name is Kaylee Langrell. I work for Turnkey Logistics. We are contracted by Summit Carbon Solutions primarily to do non-environmental permitting. My primary job, however, is going around to county boards, giving informational presentations, answering questions. So with me today, I have Kylie Lang. She is the project manager, or one of the project managers in Iowa. So if there's questions later, great resource. We also have Rod Dillon. He is our director of regulatory compliance, also another great resource. And then Corey Collette, he is our DHS manager. So a lot of great people here to, help answer some questions. So really what I want to do today is just, first of all, go over this new handout we have. So the one with the map on the bottom. And then I'll give you guys just a brief project update like I normally do. So we'll kind of start from the top. I'm just going to go through these regulations one by one down the list, and then we'll talk about this map. So number one, just want to touch on that Summit Carbon Solutions is regulated by PHMSA, and that's a part of the DOT. Number two, this is, all of the rest of these are regulations that we're required to follow. So just gonna run through those and then tell you how Summit Carbon Solutions is planning to follow those. So new pipe, it must be made of carbon steel, low alloy, high strength. This is exactly what Summit Carbon Solutions is going to be using, and it will be US manufactured steel. Moving on to number three, public awareness. I really wanted to make sure we added this one in because I feel like public awareness is a big topic, and PHMSA does actually have an entire section of regulations dedicated to public awareness, and this is just one small piece of it. But basically, we must have a program that specifically includes provisions to educate the public, appropriate government organizations, and public engagement excavation. So basically, when we're talking about excavation, we want people to call 911. We come out, or 811. We come out and do a locate. And then, this far we've had over 1,700 meetings with different organizations. We've had open houses, landowner meetings, and then included in that are the quarterly updates that we're trying to give to counties, just like this one. So, but again, that's one tiny section of the public awareness portion. So if you want to, you can definitely go look up the CFR 195 and kind of look through it for yourself. Number four, clearance between pipe and underground structures. So PHMSA requires that we have a 12-inch clearance. Our best practice is going to be 24 inches. So that doesn't mean that we'll be 24 inches all with every other entity underground, but that means that's what we're going to try to do. So you have for sure 12 inches because that's what's required, and then the 24 inches is what we hope for. Number five, inspection of right-of-way and crossings under navigable waters. Each operator shall at intervals not exceeding 3 weeks, but at least 26 times each calendar year, inspect the conditions of the pipeline right-of-way. So our standard practice is going to be flying the line with a plane, not a drone, to visually inspect the pipeline right-of-way to see if, for instance, if any of the pipe is exposed or if someone's building on it beforehand. Number 6, assessment intervals. So every 5 years, not to exceed 68 months, we have to assess the pipeline's integrity. So this, what we will plan to do here is use an inline inspection tool. There's launch and receiver sites, so that's where we would put the tool in, and it will check for different things like dents, corrosion. I think it can even check for if there's depth of cover loss at this point. So it's a very sophisticated tool that we'll use to run through the line. And then the transmission line valves. So we have to have those. I know we've talked about the valves before, but we will have them no more than 20 miles apart on the line. You can see, I've provided a map for you guys, but they are the little red ribbons shown on the map. So that's where our block valves will be. And basically, if there's any kind of temperature or pressure change, those block valves will shut instantaneously, and then we will be notified and handle the situation. And then lastly, just to touch on this map, we wanted to add this just to kind of show an example of how pipelines do not deter growth to communities. They actually do the opposite. Houston, Texas is a great example. According to the U.S. Census, it is the 4th most populated city in the U.S. They've really embraced becoming an energy hub. So it's brought lots of wealth, jobs, and people to the community. So this map really just speaks to that because you can see all the pipelines that are running through it. But that's something we kind of wanted to show you guys as an example of how it brings jobs and growth to the community. So with that, I will give you guys just a brief project update. So at this point in Iowa, we are at 2/3 of easement miles acquired in the state. And then as far as permits, I know Doug is working with our Doug, the relationship manager for this county is working with your county engineer. And then as far as construction date, we do have that scheduled for 2024. So that is a change.
You won't start until 2024 any place?
That's what we're looking at. We have to have our IUB permit, so no construction will start until we have all of our permits, including the IUB permit.
This says August 2023.
That needs to be changed.
Oh,
I think that it's a recent change.
Yes.
We're still finalizing new construction dates based on all of our state permit hearings. There's a chance we do pre-construction work at the end of 23, but the bulk of construction for Iowa will be in 24.
You're not gonna.
Which quarter, 24?
You're not gonna do any digging until you get an okay from the IUB to use eminent domain, I'm assuming?
We can't do any work until we have approval from IUB.
Okay.
They give us the right to start construction. That's one of their permits.
Dan had a question, which quarter of 2024, do you guys know that?
I don't want to lock that down. I mean, we just got the updated permit information late last week. So as the engineering team are still rebuilding the schedule.
Okay.
But within a couple weeks, we'll know it.
I guess my first comment is, as supervisors, our number 1 job is safety, our number 2 job is safety, and our number 3 job is safety for the public. I don't know how comfortable everybody else is here with how it's went so far, but we haven't heard a lot about the safety factor other than what you've said so far. We have to assure the public that if we okay this, or if we don't try and stop it, that we're doing enough to provide safety to the public.
Are there any specific questions that we can answer for you guys that I haven't?
Well, right now you got a line going right next to a town of Irvington.
So, yeah. The ball valves.
Yeah, so if you kind of look at the map.
Right.
We initially start with, we put valves every 20 miles, that's regulation. And then we do a full engineering analysis based on high population areas, based on large navigable waterways, highly trafficked railroads, various things like that. And bring in that 20 miles depending on the engineering study. So when we go closer to a city like we are here, we brought those valves in pretty significantly to block in the city, to allow, which she mentioned, in the unlikely chance of a pressure or temperature loss, we have the ability to block in the city. So that's done. It's based on PHMSA regulation, the studies that we completed, and that's the first, step of safety that we do on the project. And then what we do is preventative. Kaylee mentioned the flyover, where every 3 weeks, I think is required, maybe 2, we'll fly the line. That is like step 15 in the safety plan. What we actually use that for is if someone chose not to call 811 and we see them digging and we're gonna go over and be like, hey, let's make sure you're not on top of a pipeline. Conversation. What we do on the front end first, PHMSA requires us to inspect 10% of all wells that are completed on the project. We're gonna go and inspect 100% of the wells on the pipeline before it's ever put in the ground. After the pipeline's put in the ground, it's filled back in, we are going to fill the system up segment by segment with water to at least 125% of maximum operating pressure. So this is going to tell us if there's a failure point, it's going to fail with the water. We're going to know at that point. Another step that we did a lateral migration analysis, which was completely optional at every navigable waterway, telling us, do we have incompetent soil? Do we have potential for aggressive erosion in a major rainstorm? Things like that could potentially expose our pipe. And what we did in those situations, in most cases, we moved the bore boxes back, extending the drill, which extends the depth of the drill overall. So that was a study we recently completed a couple weeks ago, made some major changes to our waterways and on the safety side. So this all happens before product ever goes in the system. All of these safety steps take place. Once product is in the system, she mentioned an inline inspection tool. We will run it on every segment that's what we call piggable, terrible phrase, that we can run the tool through. Any other section will continue the hydro test process that we fill with water. But we run the tool, and it's smart enough to tell us at exact GPS locations if we have any internal corrosion. It's going to tell us if we have any external corrosion by total loss of pipe. It's going to tell us if we have any dents on the exterior of the pipe. It's going to tell us if we're losing depth of cover in specific areas. So this is used all preventative, long before, and no one ever even knows we're running these tools. And it will tell us in situations. I actually spent a couple of years just working on the integrity side of pipeline management, and you get immediate reactions, not on newer pipes often. And then you have 30 days and 90 days, and it's all regulated on when you have to go and react based on metal loss. We've also made the decision, we've gone with heavier wall pipe in a lot of situations. We've heard the term pressure propagation. Based on engineering studies, we've just gone with stronger, heavier pipe to prevent any risk of pressure propagation in other situations. We use crack arresters, and all that engineering has been done on the front side. And most of what we're doing, although we are going above and beyond with lateral migration and various things like that, is laid out very specifically in the pipeline hazardous material safety data, DOT 195. And we're following that. We'll be audited throughout the construction process by PHMSA. We have Rod here today who can speak on that more than I can. But there's a lot going in, and the millions of miles of pipeline in the country that run safely, that more than 99.999% of the product put in the pipeline gets to its end location, which you can't say in any other means of traffic or means of transportation, shows that the regulations that are being followed are, strenuous and tested, and we've put a lot into the safety side.
I'm going to say a lot of the pipelines that run through the United States are natural gas, anhydrous, and oil, and things like that have a smell. we are dealing with an odorless killer. So shouldn't our regulations be more stringent than what the federal government is right now?
Odor is one piece, but what we aren't is flammable, and what we aren't is explosive. And to me, and you can argue, you know, it's an asphyxiant, and we take that incredibly seriously, but so is natural gas. So is a lot of other liquids or gases that run through pipelines. We only talk that is an asphyxiant because that is the only major risk of CO2.
Can I say something quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you give us a map of Houston. My wife grew up in Houston, so I've been down there a few times, but it's oil and gas industry, energy industry everywhere there, and it's not like it's a city full of CO2 pipelines running into the city. So, you know, it's like comparing and saying, you know, so-and-so has a solar farm in the Arizona desert, therefore it should work in northern Iowa. It's just comparing apples to oranges. I don't think it's a fair assumption that, you know, because Houston's full of underground pipelines, that therefore we should have one too.
I guess I'll take that two sides, right? One, the design and engineering of a pipeline, no matter what's inside of it, other than very specific technical changes, is the same, right? We use the same workers, we use the same well standards.
It's a different substance though.
It's a different substance.
Right.
But to say like if a major natural gas leak in downtown Houston, it wouldn't be incredibly concerning. It would be a wild statement.
Be concerning, but it wouldn't be spreading through the air as an odorless vapor.
It would spread through the air.
It would. It would not
spread through
kill.
the air.
It would not kill in the same way that or harm in the same way a CO2 line would.
I disagree
Okay.
with that statement. Brad, I don't know if you want to speak on.
I can kind of speak to that because we were having some road construction done close to my house here in town, and there's an incident where one of the natural gas lines got hit, and it spread an odor so fast that the sheriff, police, everybody was called. The schools were evacuated that were nearby, and we had the utility companies, 10, 15 trucks on site within, 15 minutes of it happening. That's, and that odor told us that, something was wrong. And we were able to contact all those people before any injuries or anything happened. This is an odorless gas, which you won't know is going to, something happened or something got hit until people start hitting the ground.
So what's different? Oh, Brad, you want to take it?
Our SCADA system on the pipeline system will tell us if there's a release.
What happens if that fails?
And we'll shut it down.
What happens if that fails, though? There's lots of failures in technology.
The meter's gonna hit the earth, I mean, that's gonna happen. What if it fails? It's not gonna fail. We're not gonna let it fail. We've got backup systems for the SCADA system. I can bring in a SCADA report for you and give it to you on how our systems work. They work all around the country right now, and they haven't failed. They have backups, they have battery backup. I don't know what you mean by fail. Our meters work. We're going to have meters along the system, the instruments, spence line instruments to go back to SCADA to tell us if there's levels in the atmosphere above background. And we'll know when there's a release based on our flow. We know where the flow is going to be released at. We know, like she said, the overflights, the line riders will see people working on the line in the area of the line. We'll shut that down. We'll get 811 calls. We'll make sure that doesn't happen.
To speak specifically, I'm not familiar with the natural gas release you mentioned. But if you drove trucks into it, it tells me it wasn't high concentration, correct? It was some type of pinhole leak that created an odor.
I'm not 100% sure on the size of the leak either, but I just know that it created a lot of, and some panic.
A difference between natural gas or most products that are running in pipelines today and CO2. CO2 lives in the air. to become dangerous, it has to be an incredibly, incredibly high concentrations, parts per million in the air. When we're talking the difference between H2S, which is in a lot of products running in pipelines, we're talking it becomes dangerous at 10, 20 ppm. And then we're talking tens of thousands of ppm for CO2 being dangerous. So a pinhole leak in a pipeline and CO2 is going to be emitting slower than the ethanol plants are emitting emitting CO2 today, right? It is not dangerous at a pinhole or even larger than a pinhole. The only time CO2 becomes dangerous is in a very unlikely catastrophic failure. Those are not going to go unnoticed by anybody. It's not going to go unnoticed by our systems. It's not going to go unnoticed by the area. So when you compare minor leaks, if we didn't repair it, no one would ever even know. So the odorant doesn't matter because CO2 is emitted into the air all day, every day. As long as it's not major high concentrations. I'm talking way, way higher than natural gas has to be or any of the chemicals that go into a lot of products running in pipelines today. They're not comparable in any way. Pinhole leaks don't pose a threat to the community.
That leads me to a question. The end point for this, that's gonna be whatever, tens of thousands, millions of whatever pounds or gallons, pumping this into the ground, is that right?
Yeah. At a minimum mile deep, up to 2 miles deep, depending on which well.
That's gonna be huge concentrations of this stuff in the ground. And what do you, it turns to rock or something, you said, or it turns solid? How long does that take?
Yeah, it will
How long
calcify over
does it take
time.
for that gas
But
to solidify?
I don't know. I'd have to talk to a geologist. I think our North Dakota team who actually
And
works on the sequestration
what
side
happens if
knows.
there's somehow that ground opens up and there's a leak in that ground?
I can tell you that North Dakota has done so much study on sequestration. They put so much money and experts into this that after 12 years of us flowing proof that we constructed correctly, they're taking 100% of the liability because they have so much confidence in sequestration and the capability of this cap rock to permanently sequester CO2.
And how many years can you pump this stuff into that hole?
I think after 100 years, we'll use less than 10% of our sequestration site at our current flow rate.
But you don't know how long it stays in a gas form in the ground.
Unless Rod knows. We have a sequestration team that lives up in North Dakota.
I'm talking about a, super concentration. Well, that's gonna be a super concentration at that site.
I have to trust the millions and millions, probably billions of dollars of engineering research that went into it.
We also get, we're told that oil pipelines and gas pipelines are safe, but how many times have we had oil pipelines erupt and gas pipelines explode? And we've seen pictures of holes in the ground that are big enough to bury a city in, where the gas line exploded. So, there's no guarantees that there won't be a leak somewhere along the line. I'd say it's not if it's gonna happen, but when it's gonna happen.
I would say the newer the pipeline, the lesser the likelihood, right? We got pipelines that ran from the 30s and the 40s, and they had the best technology at their time, but it's nothing compared to what we have today in terms of engineering standards, as well as growth in PHMSA and other regulations. But to say anomalies don't happen would be a lie, right? We know that they happen, but in terms of the millions of miles of pipeline, and we hear every once in a while about a release here, there, or everywhere else, it's not common practice. It's an incredibly small percentage of the total amount of miles that run in the country. And we think with the top level technology that we have on with our SCADA system, as well as the preventative engineering studies that we've completed, we are going to be one of the safest pipelines in the country just because we're built in 2024, not
What
1980.
happens to the landowner payments and things if ethanol all of a sudden becomes defunct and we don't use it anymore? There's no guarantee that ethanol is going to be around forever.
I agree, but to me, the pipeline in the ground, that's maybe been there for 20 years, is nothing in comparison to the 56% of corn sold to the ethanol plants and the problems to the economy that's going to be created from that. So if this is a step that makes that last longer, I think the pipeline's nothing to losing the sale of
Is
ethanol
there
in the state of Iowa.
anything in the easement that says that if ethanol plants close up and that the farmer is guaranteed his money for the next 100 years?
We only get one-time payment.
I don't know how.
Doesn't last
forever.
What's your life expectancy of the pipeline?
Pipelines don't actually have life expectancies, assuming we can continue to pass our 5-year inspection. There are pipelines running that are nearly 100 years old, and they weren't built as well as this one
So
is.
you haven't put a year on it?
There's no years.
It's a single-use pipeline, the easement is only for CO2?
One line, only CO2.
Incorrect. The easement specifies that if it's not used for CO2, that it can be sold and put in whatever you want.
Yeah.
So it's not designated only for CO2. And it is a lifetime easement with one payment up front.
I can send the language, but it is strictly, can only carry CO2.
Can you guarantee us that?
Yeah, I can send you the language.
Please, do that.
Yeah, the last time I was here, I did provide a handout and it has the specific language. I can also send that again, but I mean, I'm sure we can get a copy of part of the easement to show you guys that as well. But if you do have the handout that I provided last time, it's in there.
I probably got it somewhere.
Yeah, I know. I know how it goes.
Well, I mean, we've asked a lot of questions. Is there anything from the public? Anybody want to make a comment or question?
Two things, and I'd like to bring it up to the board, especially while Doug's here. You said you're regulated by PHMSA, correct? So PHMSA's code 195.25 on clearance between pipeline and underground structure says any pipeline installed underground must have at least 12 inches of clearance between the outside of the pipe and the extremity of any other underground structure. Except that for drainage tile, the minimum clearance may be less than 12 inches, but not less than 2 inches.
The IUB regulates it at 12.
But earlier you stated you were
And that
regulated
is-
by PHMSA.
Sorry. PHMSA does regulate, what did you say, extreme?
Yeah.
Drainage tile.
Pipelines. They had an exclusion for drain tile. To offset that, the IUB, and we have submitted an agricultural impact mitigation plan, has a 12-inch separation.
So that'll be enforced through the IUB if the permit is granted?
Yes, and well, the enforcer will technically be the county inspector that's hired by the county. They'll have the agricultural impact mitigation plan, and it's what's been approved by the IUB, and they'll enforce it.
Who pays for county inspector?
We do.
They do.
Our choice,
Of the supervisor's choice, yeah.
that's what I meant, our choice, you pay for it.
Yes.
The other thing I had when Roger touched on safety, has there been anything done within this county as far as preparing people for safety or educating them for safety? And where will the money come from for the equipment that we would take to respond to a CO2?
Summit Carbon Solutions will fund all that, and we will do all the education of all the first responders. And then, of course, public awareness is part of PHMSA's 440 that we have to deal with for everybody.
How is Summit guaranteeing they're gonna provide electric vehicles and so forth with the amount of money it would take to staff the county? Because you would have Whittemore, Algona, and Wesley would all be emergency responders across the county. The amount of equipment it would take to make that available just in the Sioux County.
Yeah, we're
What
going to-
guarantee does Summit have for that?
I'm going to ensure that all first responders have the equipment and training necessary to respond safely to protect the public. And what that means is, we're going to ensure that with the CO2 monitors or O2 monitors that we're going to buy, if they don't have them already, meaning fire departments, sheriff's department, ambulance services, to respond to protect the public, we will buy all of that equipment ourselves and issue it and train them on how to use it, and continual education every 6 months. Or whenever the emergency manager reaches out and says they've hired 4 more people at whatever town, and we have to go train them again. And we're not doing regional training like the LAPC has regions for the counties. We're going to each town. I don't think it's right that volunteer firemen need to travel whatever miles to a regional meeting when they're taking a day out of their time to do that. That's just wrong.
Will they be compensated for their training? I mean,
If
a lot of
need
these
be,
people are volunteering.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think at the present time, the only company around here is Mason City that could actually respond to a CO2 leak, because they're the only ones that have backpacks that are capable of breathing through. Our local fire departments, you'd have to say they couldn't respond.
They won't when we're done. They will when we're done.
You're gonna
Absolutely.
equip them with
Absolutely.
backpacks?
I have to. I can't protect the public without the first responders being
No,
prepared.
because right now, we have none of that.
That's right. So you're gonna do vehicles too? What kind of vehicles? Electric vehicles? We don't have electric fire trucks. I mean, I don't need electric fire trucks. All we're doing is, what we're going to do is do an initial response tactic for every mile of the pipeline on each wind direction. That's part of the training I'm going to establish with all first responders. We will sit down with our dispersion modeling, look at which way the wind would blow the product and what the dispersion of it is, so many feet. It goes about 250, 300 feet, whatever it needs to be to get back down to 5,000 parts per million, which is OSHA's PEL, permissible exposure limit. And we will figure out what roads we need to block off with the sheriff's department, and who downwind needs to be dealt with will be part of the initial response tactical document that we're going to issue to each first responder in their trucks with their meters. And so basically we'll have a command post set up, already stationary decided for every mile. And when our operations folks meet first responders there, we'll do a monitor around the area to determine our hot zone. At that point, determines where we have to go from there with it. But there's nobody going to enter the hot zone with a fire truck. There's no reason to. There's no fire.
What if there's people in that zone and they need to get out of there and they can't run a fuel-powered vehicle in there? They need an electric vehicle to get in there to get them out of there. Who's going to furnish that electric vehicle?
We'll take care of that. We will address that, sir. There's not going to be an area where there's going to be a person in it unless they're on a tractor digging a hole.
People live out there in the country close to that pipeline.
They're not within the pipeline.
That thing leaks before they know it's leaking. Who's going to get in there to get them out of there before they die?
They're not within the 50,000 parts per million.
So the answer to my
We've
question,
already addressed that.
how will you guarantee the people of the county that you're going to provide the equipment and training? What is some saying, how are they going to guarantee it? I mean, we can talk all day long. I can tell you I got a Wheaton Powerball ticket in my pocket. Where's the guarantee that it's going to take place?
And it's my understanding,
Same we're
half
doing
of
it.
the pipes in the ground is when you plan to
Sir?
start training. It's my understanding that half of the pipes in the ground is when you plan.
Absolutely not.
Well, I haven't seen.
That's not what the emergency manager and I talked about. We talked about, once we get our permits, once we start, so we can start scheduling, once we get our permits, once construction starts, we will start doing the training. We'll do the training for all first responders, we'll do the training for all operations of Summit, we'll do a tabletop exercise with both groups before the product gets pushed in the line. We can't not do that. That's terms of regulations. I can't allow our product to be transported without everybody being educated to respond or be prepared to respond to anything. This is law. I mean, I can't not do it that way.
We don't want to see it.
That's, okay. I'm saying it. It's gonna happen. So the pipeline's 3/4 mile north of my house. I live in Irving, the town that's going by. So it pops, right? 1 o'clock tonight, it pops. You guys don't catch it right away. And you said, we're all gonna be out of our houses. What's my phone number? How the hell are you gonna call me and let me know that the gas is coming to my house? It's not gonna go 3/4 of a mile, but I understand your concern. We do have, it won't go 3/4 of a mile. We got a hog site that's contaminated a mile west of my house, and I can smell it outside my house. So don't tell me it doesn't go that far. And I live on top of a hill. I know the science. The CO2 will not drift 3/4 of a mile at 50,000 parts per million. Okay, Shannon's got timber. He's got 2 guys out there turkey hunting, line breaks. You don't know they're out there. That's true. You can't say people are not gonna be all safe. They're not gonna be. Okay. All I gotta say is if you wanna keep talking, why don't you build your house beside the tank? I was already there. Okay.
And what about that valve spacing you were talking about? 20 miles, is that correct?
That's max allowable, yeah.
Max allowable?
Yeah.
Well, we've got roughly 26.7 miles across Kossuth County. And since you mentioned Irvington, you have a navigable river, you have a railroad crossing, plus you've got that community right there. So you've got.
We got an Irish plant there.
And an Irish plant there as well.
So I can give you one of these maps too.
I'm just saying that just Irvington alone in itself creates a very, I don't know what's what I want to find here. Hazard situation, yeah. I mean, and also if you want to look downstream, Dakota City, the last time I spoke to them, I believe it's been over a year ago. They spend between $900 and $1,200 a month to have their discharge water put back into the West Fork of Des Moines or East Fork of Des Moines River, because Des Moines uses it as a potable drinking water source. And if your pipe runs right underneath the river and it leaks, then it's going to go downstream to Dakota City. I'm just saying there's all sorts of scenarios that can come up just one area, let alone the 26 or however many miles across Kossuth County we're talking. And the homes, I mean, 300 feet from a house, really?
Yeah, you got 300 right?
And from the bedroom, so 16 inches.
What you gotta do?
Did you build your house there? Did you build a house there?
I would. We have Summit Carbon Solutions employees who are on the line. We go through some of the agricultural land that they obviously work. We're not scared of this pipeline.
There's some guy I heard talking the last time I was here 3 weeks ago or so. There's a couple guys here talking, and the guy from Sway City said he had some advisor come up there and was talking about the pipeline up there for the navigator line. And he had all the facts and said you can't put a pipeline through Iowa without it busting because the trees and thaw. So you go 6, 7, 8 foot deep, how deep you going? If you go 4 foot deep, that's our tile lines.
We will go below tile, but the minimum is 4, depending on the area. The tile on the ground will go lower. And high strength carbon steel is significantly less susceptible to freeze thaw than, say, a water line or the lines that often run through here. It's not the same, it's not comparable. We have considered freeze thaw. It was put into the engineering report, and we've mitigated through different tactics.
Yeah, but up on the ridge where you're putting this line, I farm 6 farms. And where you're putting the line through my one farm up there, I call that rock haven. And them rocks, they just keep coming up because of frost. And you got your line on top of that rock. What's that line doing? It's going this. You're going right through, that's where the glaciers quit. That's where it dumped all its rocks. You guys did your homework. That's what we call the ridge. All the rocks are there. That line's gonna break.
When we come across a rock through construction, we'll take it out, won't put it back in, we'll move it offsite.
We can be picking them up, because I pick rocks up every year.
But there's rock shield, there's engineering mitigations that we put in place, when we see it during construction, we'll react, do rock shield, do whatever we need to do to prevent that. We also have coating on the pipe that will, fight off any type of small things. This isn't pipe that's just gonna bend. It's not, we're talking thick pipe, thick, designed to take hits on top of that thick pipe. And if it really becomes a problem, we'll see it with our inline inspection, and we'll go and we'll mitigate as needed. The rock shield and other various engineering tactics should stop that.
If that pipe's so tough and won't break, how come when a little dirt fell below it in Elk, Mississippi, the line blew and broke? If it's so damn tough.
A little dirt fell below it.
The water, it rained 7 or 13 inches, undermined the pipe went like this, and it hit the town.
There was
I
a
can't
lot
remember
of
the name of
things
the town, but it's in
that-
Mississippi.
There was a lot of things that went wrong there. First, exposed pipe. They knew it was exposed, they didn't react to it. That's the main reason we decided to do the lateral migration study. We said, hey, if we had 100-year storm, something like the Tarsha, Mississippi had, will this pipe stay underground? And that's why we extended a lot of our bores in areas that had incompetent soil, like they had. They also ran it at a lateral that isn't uncommon in the industry, but you need to check the soil to make sure it's strong enough to withstand that, which we're doing through the technical studies. So that was their first mistake by not realizing they had incompetent soil. They then allowed the pipe to become exposed. Fine, it happens. The moment it's exposed, you need to go and do something about it, and they didn't. It was exposed for several days. At that point, it's now cantilever, and that takes a totally different stress pressure than an underground pipeline. It's not built to have X, Y, Z stresses coming in every direction. It's just not how it's designed. It did have a worst case rupture at a well seam because it was cantilevered. And the reaction time for Kossuth, Tarsha, Mississippi was bad. PHMSA finding them pretty heavily shows that they made quite a few mistakes. It's not standard practice, but it also happened in a worst case situation. It's cold outside. They closed their valves slowly. They didn't react with emergency responses and such. Their SCADA system didn't fail. Their process, their internal process failed. That's not something this is an anomaly in the pipeline industry, and it's not standard, and that's why they were fined for it. And then in the same side, it was also carrying H2S and various other toxins that our pipeline will not be carrying, will be more than 99% CO2. The other ones are other inert gases like nitrogen, at less than 1% by mole. And that is, like I mentioned earlier, H2S 10 to 20 ppm and you're in a danger zone versus tens of thousands ppm in CO2 before you enter into a danger zone. So that's a huge difference that needs to be noted when we talk about Tarsha, Mississippi. But also that not only did they make mistakes, was it a really bad day, there was only one OSHA reportable with no fatalities. And I believe if we were talking natural gas, this would not be, those stats would not be the same. So we've done a lot to prevent what happened there from happening on our pipeline. So we've learned from their mistakes, but also their mistakes don't mark industry standard.
How deep or how far, you gonna bore, or how far are you going below our county tile?
We'll be at least, by regulation, a foot below. Standard practice, we're gonna have the contractors do 24 inches, they end up 22.
Not dig, right, bore?
We told them.
Sorry, county tile. We'll work individually with each one.
Yeah.
We'll get a permit for each tile that we cross.
We met with your construction people before. I told them the only way they'd go is if they'd bore underneath our county tile. We're not gonna accept them digging through it.
A little subtle.
They're too old. Anytime you dig through a 100-year-old structure, you do damage to it.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be bored. We're gonna pothole them before you come.
Yeah, I think you talked to Brent East.
Yeah.
Because when you're going through the pipeline through Kossuth County, which is Carter's area now, is my area, you got 750 miles of county tile. That's a lot of crossings.
What we did is we did the best layover that we could get based on public data, based on different companies in the area that had information, and we did the best thing. We did a GIS overlay of your county tile system, and that's when we came to a meeting, and then we're gonna pothole and find the remaining, or, if it's in a 100-foot easement, we don't know exactly where it's at, but it's that type of thing. So we're gonna directly locate it in advance, and if the process is required for it.
Like when you go to a dredge, we got a lot of dredges down my area, we got creeks, but then we got dredges, and the dredges are deep. Are you gonna slope way back and bore down and come out and be like 4 or 5 feet below water line? Because if they did that dredge out, they're gonna hit the line.
That is exactly what we do.
The bore underneath of that.
I can't speak, I don't know specifically what you're talking about, but if it's ran by the county, we'll come to an agreement on best practice. But in a lot of situations, yeah, if it's deep, we just extend the bore length to get deeper.
When you're crossing creeks, you gotta get permission from, because we got Topeka shiners around here, so they're trying to protect them.
So
You
there's
hold
the.
DNR then, or what do you do there?
The DNR, we have to permit any river that's ran through the DNR, will be permitted through the DNR. Then there's also larger rivers that are not in this county that are permitted by the Army Corps, so.
You gotta get hold of Boone Valley Watershed then too?
They'll have to.
They'll have to?
Yeah.
Who's on that now, Carter?
So this is
Yeah,
all
that's more of our
gonna
environmental.
be, this is all gonna be sections of pipe welded together, is that right?
You said the pipe wouldn't.
Most of us are farmers in this room, or have farmed. I think every one of us can say we've all seen welded metal that's broke many a times. I've welded a lot of pieces of farm equipment. How can you say that those welded joints are gonna be as strong? Maybe the pipe is fine. You can't tell me that welded joints can be 100% safe.
That is why we hydro test before going to service. We put it, 25% higher than the pressure we'll ever see. If there's a weak point, that's when we're gonna find it.
You do that before you cover it up.
It's actually to cover up before you go into service.
Oh, yeah. So you can't see it.
Well, you have to be required to hold pressure for 8 hours. So if you lose pressure in any situation, you have to find out why.
I don't know, you do like 100 yards, put a machine on each side, pressurize the heck out of it, and go again and go again.
We do it in 20 to 25 mile segments of water to pressurize. We will pre-hydro test any major river, any major HDD. Any HDD that we do, the pipe will be pre-hydro tested. So it'll have to be hydro tested twice, because obviously it'll be in service during the hydro test.
You said this pipe won't bend, correct?
It's not on its own.
Okay, well, the last time I spoke with that person, you can bend this, and I've seen the machinery.
Yeah, you can engineer bend it.
Yeah.
You can design it bend.
And that causes a lot of stress.
Not if you do it correctly, which is why we
That's
engineer
the
design
key
it.
word.
And that's also why the bends often come at drills, right? If it goes deep down and then come back up. That's why we pre-hydro test post bend before we ever put the pipe in the ground. So it'll be hydro tested before it gets put in the ground and then re-hydro tested with the rest of the system. So that's because of that engineered bend.
Who's gonna be the manufacturer of your pipe?
We're using various different mills across the country, depending on the size of the pipe, from American to Wellspun, but it's 100% American steel.
You're saying that, going back to what, I forget your name, but what you had mentioned, that the CO2 won't travel 3/4 of a mile. Do you have studies that do prove that?
Dispersion model, yes.
Could you send those to us?
I cannot.
You have plume studies and.
We are developing our dispersions for every mile of pipeline at this time.
Didn't you tell us about that they had a 8-inch line that they threw 2,200 PSI in it and ruptured it on purpose and went 1,400 feet in 4 minutes? So half
It
the mile
didn't.
is double that.
It didn't maintain 50,000 parts per million at 1,000 feet actually is what you're talking about.
I have
That-
that study if you want to go through it after this.
It did not maintain.
It'll travel
over
without
5,000
strong
parts
as
per
it hurt, is
million.
what you're saying.
I actually have it printed out in my bag, but I only have one copy in my hand, so if you want to talk about it after, we can.
Is there a reason we don't have access to these studies, being that it's?
So in that situation, like you can't go to Google and say, where are the pipelines in this country, right?
Right.
There's no way for people to find where the pipelines are in an exact way unless you purchase it, and do what we call Rex tag. Still, that's not exact. And the reason behind that is it's at the U.S. Department of Security level. And if we said, here's our exact pipeline location and here's our dispersion analysis, we are not giving all of that information to anyone publicly that wants it. And I mean, it's good when we have these conversations, and it's great for us to be able to do that. But U.S. Security says, let's not put that much data out there in the world. But there are test studies, like you mentioned, of dispersion analysis that are public because they're small and they're not related to one actual functioning pipeline. And I think that's going to be, it's still CO2, it's still pressured up to the same thing, it's just not specifically ours. And I think that's a good data to start with.
So I have a question for you. Why is that information not directly released to the landowner where the pipe is going through the ground? there's absolutely no, if you guys want to talk about transparency, that information should be released to the landowner where your pipe runs.
I can only speak to the IUB had a ruling last week. I don't know if you guys were aware that even they felt they didn't need it, that it, you know, was pretty lock and key information that we're gonna keep it, you know, federal, we're gonna keep with the emergency managers, which he's gonna take that study, he's gonna design it and train the emergency responders with the information that we do have. He's still developing it, it's not complete.
But don't you understand what's wrong with that? It'd be like me coming to your house and running any structure or whatever, and nope, I'm not gonna give you any information on the entity. You're not entitled, you don't have a right, even though you own it.
There are a lot of public information.
I'm talking about your pipeline specifically. If you guys got this, if you guys have this information, why not be transparent and give it to the landlord? What's wrong with that?
Rod, maybe you know more details.
No, just what you said, that's the only reason.
That would be thousands and thousands of people who then have the information that the U.S. security
Well,
system.
you're connecting thousands of people with your pipeline. You can't deny that, you are.
I'm not
So-
denying that we are, and I'm willing to have individual conversations. We can look at your property, talk about it. I can show you the studies of third party, which honestly, most of you guys would probably trust more than the study we gave you guys. And it will extrapolate similar, without, you know, giving the whole world information about this pipeline.
Jack, you had asked about the easement, so I pulled it up here, and this is exactly written from my land agent that sent the easement to me, and it says in number 7, assignment, it says company, which is Summit Carbon, shall have the right to sell, assign, apportion, mortgage, or lease this agreement as amended from time to time, and the easements granted under it in whole or in part to one or more parties, and company shall be released from its obligations under this agreement to the extent of such sale, assignment, apportionment, or lease, provided that any such purchaser, assignee, apportionee, or leasee assumes company's obligations. The pipeline easement and access easement shall be permanent, and the easement shall, and provisions of this agreement, including all benefits and burdens, shall run with the land. So it is permanent, it can be sold, it does not specify carbon dioxide anywhere in this easement.
It specifies it in a different section. I wish I knew the easement well enough to tell you which section, but it's not my side of the business. If we want, I mean, I can get that information. I can't tell you like section 8, I don't know. Because, you know, I'm the pipeline engineer. I don't go out and talk to landowners all that often. But I can get some people that do get that information.
So what do you, we all know that when you weld metal, wherever it's welded, that becomes a very corrosive section of that metal. What do you do to keep that from, that welded area from corroding faster than the rest of the pipe?
So we coat it. So the whole pipeline will be coated, even the welded areas. We also put what are called sacrificial anodes in the ground. Basically, they corrode faster than high-strength carbon steel. So you stick them in the ground, and corrosion sucks up at the anode rather than on the pipeline. In other situations, we use a rectifier switching AC to DC power, and we run it across the system, basically electrifying and preventing corrosion, basically from street to street. So we have the sacrificial anodes, and we also have a current that will run through, preventing corrosion. And then we have the coating that is put on the pipe before it goes in service.
How do you coat the inside?
We don't coat the inside. CO2 is a non-corrosive inert gas.
Well, like I say, guys, you know, it's contact your state representatives, you know, hear all these opinions to them.
You're gonna have 2 new members on the board, probably, in a couple of months. Utility board. Josh Burns will probably be the only one that's staying. So if you want to reach out to your governor, talk to her.
Yeah,
Rich?
You know, we're kind of living in exciting times in some ways. And there's an ethanol plant in Illinois that's going to be in-house. So they won't even need pipelines and such. So I would encourage the board just to hang back, see some of these things coming alive. We're almost, it seems like day or daily they're coming out with new technologies. So why do we need to take land? Why do we need to endanger people? Why do you talked about North Dakota, they're going to know about earthquakes. So, and here in Illinois, the one county simply will not let Navigator come in. They will not be storing things. So I think I would encourage, as we go forward here, especially a situation like that, where they can do it right in-house with payback within a year, it looks like. So let's not get stuck on this, geez, if we don't do this, things are going to hell in the handbasket. You know, you keep hearing this, you buy 56%, 1/3 of that goes to feed. Why don't we ever just say, no, 1/3 of that, no matter what, that stuff's going to feed. So I would encourage just to sit back and say, you know what, as these things come on, maybe this is a bad idea. And I guess I would ask you people, ask you, listen, if we could do this without having a pipeline, we could save endangering people, and we could do this, would you be willing to do it, or is this all about the tax credits going up there? I think we have to be honest with each other.
So, a couple of answers.
All right.
Well, Illinois has the geology to do it. It's why Navigator's going to Illinois. North Dakota has the geology to do it, so we're going to North Dakota. Iowa does not, in most of its locations, have the geology. Even in the small portions of Iowa that has good but not great geology, it is not regulated by the state like it is in Illinois and North Dakota. So it's not an option. If it was an option, if there was phenomenal geology underneath these ethanol plants, absolutely, that's what they want to do. The tax credit would be the same if they stored it underground in Iowa, if they stored it underground in North Dakota. There's no difference. But it's not an option because of natural geology. It's not an option because of state regulations.
But you're dodging the question. Can you look these people in the eye and say, you know, if we don't need pipelines as this comes on, then let's not do it? Because you met, there's dangers.
I would say the most important, the ethanol plants wouldn't do it. And we can only do it because the ethanol plant. They had an option, an easier, cheaper, doable, gonna function, get in service, capable option. Why would the ethanol plants not take that?
Because the technology is coming on, correct?
Sorry?
The technology is coming on.
The
This started over a year ago, a year and a half ago that we had these meetings, so you don't think anything's happened in that year and a half that's changing things?
I mean, I do think things are happening. I don't think it changed the geology of Iowa.
I was told at a meeting about a year and a half ago at KC, going up. There's an old boy from Esterville there. And he did his research. He says you take the CO2 that you're putting in that pipeline, run it through the ethanol plant again, you can get a certain more percentage of ethanol, and what's left over, poof, our corn will suck it up. You don't need this pipeline. Just recycle it, that's what he was claiming. He did his homework.
I truly believe, and I've talked to the ethanol plants, they did their homework. They have done everything. They've actually, for a lot of years, had a lot of success lowering their carbon intensity score, but they bottomed out. They did the best that they could. They've put a lot into research. They put a lot into what can we do to lower our carbon intensity score to allow us to remain a viable future to sit at the table with electric cars. Like, what can we do? And I don't think this wasn't just, oh yeah, let's do it, it's easy.
You from Iowa?
I'm from Ohio, and we've got a lot of corn and ethanol.
So you come around here, we're probably 90% corn and beans around here. And it's sucking all that ethanol out of the air. It ain't hurting us. Otherwise, we'd been dead years ago. Because the only reason to me that they're pumping it out there is because they're gonna use it for fracking, so the oil company get more oil.
That's not correct. We are not going to use fracking. The ethanol plants wouldn't benefit, so why would they do?
Then why's the big oil company throwing all the millions at it?
Sorry?
Why is the big oil company throwing millions at it?
Because I think they need carbon credits.
Well, they need the oil to come up so they sell.
No, I disagree with the millions, close to a billion, depending on the sequestration site, huge waste of money. The ethanol plants need their carbon intensity score to drop to be able to compete in the low carbon fuel markets. If you think global warming is horrible or spam, it doesn't matter. Because federal, global regulation says you have to decarbonize or you can't. And the ethanol plants are feeling that pressure, and that's why they're doing this.
If ethanol wasn't subsidized, it wouldn't be able to compete.
I can't speak to ethanol plants. I've never worked at one. I've never looked at the financials of one.
Well, no reason for pipelines, so they can collect that 45 Q, $85 a ton.
As well as selling into low carbon fuel markets.
Well, wait, you said, I thought someone was supposed to sequester this, you can't sell it.
They're selling ethanol into the low carbon fuel markets. That's actually their main game of working with us, is the low carbon fuel markets.
You about done, Casey? Are you? We're not going anywhere now. So I think we can dispense of this until you come back again sometime and give us a little more information on my main subject, safety, is what I'm concerned about. And I think the taxpayers in the county are. I've never seen an easement agreement, you know, and where he was talking that they could sell it. That's new information to me. I'm assuming that this easement couldn't be sold. I'd like proof on that.
I guess let's clarify, so the pipeline runs with the land. If the landowner moves, everything that landowner negotiated goes to the new owner of that house.
Correct.
We sell the pipeline, everything that landowner negotiated, everything in that easement goes with the pipeline in the exact same way. And in that easement, it says we can only do one single line. You hear, natural gas often dual laying. We can't dual lay. We can run one line, and it has to carry CO2.
Okay.
And it's for eternity.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is forever.
We can get you the specific language though. I'll make sure that we get
But as a board, we've not been privy to any easements that you've gotten, so we don't know what the landowner's signing. So with that, I think we're gonna take a break. We've been sitting here long enough. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for coming.
I'll make sure to call you on email.
And if you want to, by the way, now, that's usually my question.
I know.
Yeah.
And I understand where I'm going. But his three concerns are safe, right?
So whether it's roads, crossings, or whatever,
I don't know, last I knew. I wonder if I still have the map, because there was only 20-some%, 29% or something like that.
Thank you.
I don't know.
No, I'm not gonna forward it to you.
Because I was thinking if I had that, but they did give us
They gave the state
a map somewhere.
Well, if you don't, please
But
don't.
you're
But we heard it was less than 30.
Yeah,
So-
there was a script
I can't talk to
of
the
it.
commercial side.
But to me, that's what.
Palo Alto and 169,
This
there
is
was,
all gonna go
I don't know,
west,
5 or
this
6
is all
in a
gonna
row,
go
and
east.
then, there's a one here and there.
Well, we heard in the hands of our neighbors, they said, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna go east from our ground, if you're familiar south of Benedict. We got a good stretch. I know, there's a large,
So,
large part of it.
just curious, so.
And a lot of people that won't. So I,
Thank you very much.
but, you know,
And if you need anything, I
Chuck's
guess,
the deal
get a
is,
copy of the proposal or.
hey, if we only have 20%, county, well,
Thank you.
50, 70, 80%. You know, that they're gonna just run out.
See, I don't know, I mean, it's.
And then it really is
sad day,
sad.
I'm thinking.
It's gonna end up being the decision of the state, whether they allow, you know, what bills end up going through the house. You know, because what they're trying to do right now, and our representative, Henry Stone, is co-sponsoring the bill right now, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
there's no percentage limit right now written in there. It's just, so, you know, the IUB can do whatever, as long as they feel there's, so, what they're, I know, but what they're trying to do in the legislature is get that at a cap, you gotta get 85, 40%, there's nothing like that in place right now, and the IUB won't make a decision until the legislature is done deciding that, so we'll see what happens there.
So
Yeah.
my last question to you, and you don't have to answer, you think you guys, these ordinances, because that's big, if you guys will pass.
No, I'm all for passing an ordinance.
So what happened up there?
Drawing from that.
Yeah.
Because Navigator is 6 to 8 months behind something, so whatever legal action you would take, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, we would already have an answer from what, how we're battling Senate. So, you know, if we went against, say we would win against Senate, that would apply to navigation. We would have that too. If we would lose, well, then Navigator can go through the same thing. So that's why we would
You
use.
can help us, please, appreciate it.
Yeah. I think
And I'm not putting
legislators
it all
all
on you, because it's,
I know.
it's all.
If somebody decides
So-
to eat, I'm going.
And some want it, I understand that, but Jack did that to me when the Twin Towers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he goes, Marty, we gotta do it, they're gonna sue us. And I thought, we got insurance,
Yeah.
we got a county attorney, and if this guy is drawn, this Whipple, is he the one that did the rehab?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, you weren't here, these other supervisors, you mentioned Sue, their wedding, their parents, and I'm like, God, stand up. Galen did, and I'm thankful for
Yeah.
you. You got thrown in the fire, so, but thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
You bet.
Al, how are you?
Did you watch that video?
I did.
I can have
I
one
did.
simple question, I
Yeah.
understand your statement, your top three.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you didn't watch it, okay.
No, my wife did.
You
She
should.
said it's really
You
good.
need to watch like, I don't know, 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, if you skip to the good part.
Right, skip to the 29 minutes.
What's that again?
It's the same people that were here doing that.
Is that
I don't think it's done specifically, it's the same organization.
Yeah. I'm just curious where.
What is it? You guys are, how,
Well, originally it was supposed to be 300. They agreed to move it to 500. And from there, well, it gets closer to my neighbors.
right?
Well, she has absolutely no rights whatsoever. So she has a 40-acre chunk that the line doesn't go through.
Right. You don't have to mark.
Nothing. It has absolutely no say at all. My contention with them is, who am I to say that my life is more important than hers? Because the farther you take away from my home, the closer you get to hers.
Big names around.
An equidistant is about 780 feet.
Well, the Millsack is their attorney.
And I say that plume information is extremely, it might completely change my attitude towards it. If you all move a quarter of a mile, then I might be okay with it.
Well, that's, we as a board, here me, we're talking about the safety of the people. And I mean,
It's
and
more
then
information.
Yeah. What does that look like?
No clue. And that's probably my biggest contention with it, is I have no idea how big a risk it is for I, my family, and my livestock is, I have no clue.
My problem with this is that.
We'll appreciate anything I can from the.
I would with our, how our line is structured, we've got a lot more level areas, higher winds. You know, just to say that, oh, once it gets above this, it's no longer the 50 million parts per whatever. it is.
They don't have to follow these ordinances.
Who says the valves aren't good?
Well, where you live, it's right smack dab in the middle of those two.
20 miles. So there's 10 miles basically both ways, so a leak happens to be there, and that's where it'll be.
Oh, look at the map.
Yeah, I'm right in between them. So I got 20 miles at 2,200 pounds of 24-inch main.
Right.
That's an awful lot of stuff.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You too.
And it doesn't sound to me like those valves are just gonna close either.
Can't be. There's no way.
Well, that,
And I doubt they're gonna hardwire them, so you're relying on cell phone reception.
Thank you.
And I know I tend to lose it once in a while.
yeah, glad that didn't go off in the woods, especially in that area.
Pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Somebody wants a piano.
Yeah. Roger, just so you know, I looked through that easement 2 more times before I spoke up, and it
Yep.
does not specify anywhere in my easement anything about carbon dioxide. It says pipeline, but nothing about CO2.
And the thing is
So-
though too, when they sell that easement is no
It's
longer
permanent.
their name.
No, it isn't. It goes,
Yes.
whoever buys the property gets the easement.
So they can make the adjustments themselves to.
With no future payments. That payment is done up
Yep.
front. Those people
You're
that signed are done.
Yep, you're
Gone.
done.
They have no rights.
Nope. No.
Forever.
Now what happens?
Or ever.
If Summit cannot go through with the pipeline, those people that signed those easements, do they get that property back?
No, because they
easements,
signed the
I
easement.
know,
The easements are there.
it's like, north of Laverne, which was that pipeline that was coming through years ago. And a whole bunch of landowners signed it, and that's why the wind turbines down there couldn't come further south, because landowners already had easements for a pipeline that never went through. And, but that was still functioning, and they couldn't sign easements with another company. So, I mean, it's still,
It's restricted.
yeah,
It's like I got those great big poles going through 3 of my farms.
right.
You know, they come through. Couldn't say
Which I
no.
appreciate.
You could have. You're gonna lose. But we get to farm around them poles for eternity.
Yeah. Supposedly, those high conducive electric lines like those, if you have dairy cows, they've done studies on it, they'll actually impact your milk production negatively.
Yeah.
Significant.
What happened, Jeff?
It
Well,
can
that guy
happen.
in Leslie, remember he went to court?
Jeff Burdick.
Oh, yeah.
Burdick, he had for about 2-3
Yeah.
years, he had a lawsuit against them for straight, well, it was for straight voltage.
And they won eventually, but they lost millions of dollars.
But he still went out of business, it was
Yep.
too
Well,
long.
A couple of straight voltage. We had one, I used to work for a utility company. We had one, it followed the tile line for 2 miles.
I gotta get credit.
And then came up in the area.
Good see, Carter.
You never, it's hard to figure out.
Boy, they got a long way to go on public relations.
Well, the only way it's ever gonna happen is if they get, is if the state doesn't, otherwise it ain't never gonna happen.
Oh, good.
These car people, these guys are here telling me, got the radio there, the radio reporting that they have 66% signed up for it. And these guys are saying that's an out and out lie. They only have about 30% signed up.
It's a ploy. want to seem like more people are on board than actually are, so they can coax more people into signing it.
What do you think, Tammy?
I think I'm tired. What do you think, Jack?
I think it's gonna be a long year.
I think it's already been a long year and it's only
Alright.
February. I think yeah. I don't know. I did that.
It's raining out there pretty good.
Is it? No, it was supposed to today.
We're supposed to get about an inch of rain
Oh,
total
you're supposed to
today.
get that much?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's raining pretty good.
That's what they're saying.
0.95 is what I got on Weather Underground.
My gosh, somebody messaged me about our Equinox.
Really? You've only had that posted for 3 months?
Yeah, at least. That's mine. That's thanks. I got more time.
No, I got it.
Who's that? Oh.
Phew.
Bless you.
Phew.
Bless you again.
Thank you.
Was your food good Saturday night?
Oh, yeah.
I think that was
That was
good.
really good.
It was good.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Westland Farmers.
Oh, yeah.
Steak fry.
Steak.
I did see that. I was gonna do that. I completely forgot.
It was very good.
We had a bunch of family over on Saturday night. Up from Des Moines.
Oh, you bugger.
So these budget sheets for ambulance, do they replace, or no, we didn't have them begin with, never mind.
You leave those sitting on Kyle's desk like that, he's gonna lose them.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't think his book is that his book? Oh, it is his book.
Yeah.
Too bad I'm still not putting
What do I put in the general?
He can
world?
still hear us, by the way.
it on.
Oh, general assistance, there we go.
I don't know if he's listening, but he can still hear us.
Was that changed then? Do I take
Yeah,
off the old?
because it's the one where you took away her raise.
Oh,
But I think you guys are gonna need to tell her that.
tell her about the raise. Well, we haven't given anything yet, have we?
Well, I mean, when she's in here, you can tell her one way or another, so you're gonna have to.
Right,
tell her.
right, right.
We still have an auditor?
Huh. For today,
Do you?
But this is thicker than, this is for general assistance?
There might be 2 copies.
yeah, you
Oh,
might have more than one.
Okay.
Okay. Should we go back into session? Did you turn the recorder off?
I can turn it back on.
How about the video, audio, whatever we call it?
What is motor vehicle?
We're back, Roger.
We are back on. First thing that we have is drainage.
There isn't
There's
any.
some drainage.
No drainage today?
No.
Well, then we are gonna go to discussion with our auditor.
That'll be next week after all this rain today.
Yeah. Okay, so on next week's agenda, we have approval of liquor license for Springtown Golf Course, discussion decision planning and zoning administrator, and approve application and certificate for payment for retainage of courthouse room project. That's what we have so far, along with our regular weekly stuff. I have a lot to talk about today. I've been forwarding you emails on a new bill, Senate Study Bill 1124 that came out Friday. The bill would consolidate our general basic and our general supplemental to the max $3.50. And rural basic, $3.95. Now, it does not include everything. The EMS levy will be outside of that. The 75 cents is not included in that $3.50. And then it does include a couple other things, like it said in the emails that I forwarded you. The new Senate study bill also covers, it's 102.5% is all we can go over from year to year. So that really limits what we can increase our budget by on a yearly basis. It also talks about capping our bonds and other limitations. So please read through those that I sent you this morning about Senate Study Bill 1124, because I am very opposed to it, and I'm sure if you read through it, you will be too. It really ties the county's hands, and it will mean budget cuts. And it pertains to this fiscal year 24, the one we're working on. So it will limit, we will have to go back and cut our budget. And it's February 14th, and we're looking at, we still don't know anything on Senate Bill 181. So if you reach out to your legislators today on 1124, please talk to them about 181. Whatever they decide, we need to make a decision so we can move forward, because if they don't extend our deadline and this doesn't pass, by the end of the week, I have to have my notice published. I have to get it to the paper. Or we're not gonna make our deadline by March 31st. If it is gonna pass, then at least we need to know that, so I'm not worried about not getting my notice in the paper in time. So,
We need an answer either way.
Yeah, they need to make a decision, either go forward with it or not. At this point, we just need a decision on what they're gonna do.
181, they're supposed to make a decision, aren't they?
Yeah, they say early this week, but it's
That's what I
Tuesday
thought.
and they still haven't made a decision. And they're already adjourned for today, so,
Well, that's nice.
yeah. So, that means tomorrow at the earliest. And tomorrow, 11/24, will be on the, I don't know what committee it's in, if it's Ways and Means tomorrow in the Senate or what, but that's scheduled for 3:45 tomorrow. So if you can reach out to people today, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm thinking about sending it out to department heads as well, so they're aware of it, so they can reach out to some of their representatives as well. We're going fierce, getting ready for election, which is March 7th. So yesterday I got our machines ready. We have our public tests next week and our training for election workers next week. We will deliver equipment March 6th and pick it out March 8th. We'll have the canvas on March 14th. So right in the middle of that, at the same time, we're trying to work on our budget stuff. Elizabeth from our auditing firm is hoping to come next week or the week after for our yearly audit. So she hasn't set it in stone yet, but we will be working on that soon as well. And I think that is all I have at this point.
That's it?
That's all.
All right.
Jack?
Board of Health tomorrow morning.
Carter?
I've got,
Yeah, I guess I attended the lieutenant governor's thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got wellness tomorrow morning. I didn't have any committee meetings this past week.
I also attended that meeting with the lieutenant governor. And then Thursday, we have EMA to render decision on the.
Really?
No, this is the hazardous mitigation. So the grant came through and we're just making a decision on what firm we're gonna go with. If we're gonna go with NICOG or if we're gonna go with JEO. Don't ask me what that stands for because I can't think of it off the top of my head, but we're rendering a decision on that, as well as Chris had to get a quote for doing some upfit to one of the side-by-sides to add emergency lights to make it more visible as an emergency vehicle versus just someone's side-by-side. So we're going to be having a decision on that Thursday, I believe 5:30 at the EMA building.
Last Monday, I went to the disaster recovery planning process. It was an all-day meeting with some of the emergency managers around here in the county, around surrounding counties. It was interesting. It was worth it. And then we went and met with the lieutenant governor. I think you're the only one that wasn't there, Carter. And that was interesting.
Yeah, what all went on, or
yeah,
how did that all go?
It was
well, Lieutenant Governor, I mean, he that presentation on.
It was a good presentation.
Yeah. He talked about how Israel put this into the works, and then there is one city within the U.S. that has taken on this, Jersey
part of New York, yeah,
Jersey
northwest
City.
part of New York.
Yep. So they've kind of implemented the same thing, as well as I think he said about 8 other countries around the world that have implemented this similar community response kind of thing. Basically, the gist of it is, they would like to see more volunteers throughout the county. Just be as volunteers, and there's an app that they can turn on their phone, and, you know, through the dispatcher, they would basically send out an alert to the people that are closest to you know, situation to respond with their bag. And basically
They're
that's,
given a go bag that has
Yep.
an AED and
Yep.
the equipment that they would need.
and it's just a quicker response, and with that way, you know, any situations where if it's a cardiac arrest, or if it's a bleed situation, that they can control the bleed, they can do the AED, things that they need to do before the ambulance arrives, because we got, you know, situations where it's gonna take 15 minutes for an ambulance to get there.
Correct.
So this was just a program that the Lieutenant Governor is very on board with, of wanting to see 2 counties in the state take it on as a pilot, to kind of work out the kinks and stuff before they try to roll it out to other counties. So.
Is Kyle on? Does he have anything?
Kyle, do you want to add anything?
I am. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me here or not, but I'll try and give you more of an update. We have a lot of information here, but I'll.
Why don't you just give us an update next week?
Yeah, just save it for next week. You're cutting out pretty bad.
You sound more like Daffy Duck.
Yeah.
We had nothing behind assessor before. Well, how do you like that?
Anything else?
No.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. We will go into
Hold on.
working with our auditor. If she's still.
Kyle, are you gonna stay on for this?
Budget
You
workshop.
can just
Yeah,
try. What's that?
Yeah, I'll try and stay on unless.
Okay.
Are we still recording?
Kyle, is the recording still going?
I do it later.
Am I able to stop it?
Who's controlling Kyle's recording? I don't think we need to record the budget workshop, but let's.
He's got control of it, and I don't think.
If I'll go back and review it, so that's why I leave it on.
Oh,
There's a reason it needs to be stopped.
He's asking if there's a reason it needs to be stopped, because he would like it to be recorded. That way, if he has to leave to do something else, he can come back and review it. Are you guys okay with that?
No, doesn't need to be recorded. It's a budget workshop. He's not here. If he doesn't get it, he'll get it next week. It's not our fault that he isn't here.
I mean, it is a public meeting, and we did discuss.
Yeah.
We did discuss about possibly recording the budget workshops in the coming year, but leaving as is for now. I mean, if he's on the line though, currently, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's fine.
Debbie did that.
Josh, can you see the chat?
Yeah. He said it's a public meeting. Yeah, that's my plan next week. I'm not sure if that's all chat, and then he basically said I'm not asking, so. We'll keep the recording going. Can you, are you able to stop it and then restart it so that way this portion doesn't go to your channel or anything at least?
I can try that here, but I don't know. I don't really want to deal with that right now. I'd rather just watch it all back and deal with it later.
It's not our fault he's not here. He doesn't have to record this. He could have stayed home, he could have stayed here if he was that important to him.
I mean, he is on county business there too.
Not really. I wouldn't call that county business that he's on.
Well, it's the National Association of Counties, so I mean, in a way it is.
But that's not the discussion at hand.
No.
If you want to check, call Todd and ask if it needs to be stopped.
I didn't hear what he said.
He said if we want to check with Todd to see if it needs to be stopped.
I don't have a problem with it being recorded.
I don't either.
It just, it's a public meeting. We did make a comment, is all I'm saying, that we would do it in the coming year, being that we had already started budget workshops and some were not recorded. You know,
Well, maybe, but if he's gonna do that, he might as well turn the other recorder on.
oh, this is just his recorder?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't.
This is
for personal use.
Control what he does with that.
Yeah, yeah. This is his recorder for.
Turn the other one back on.
That's fine. I mean, he is a supervisor.
I have no problem with turning the other one on either.
But then we're not consistent.
That's
Then
what that's the
how
point
are
I
we
was
gonna
getting
say
at.
that these guys that we're talking about today are recorded, but the other ones aren't?
And that's,
It's not fair.
that was my point, that
Yeah.
we talked about it, doing it in the coming year. But being that we have not recorded every budget session, that's not fair to everyone, I don't think.
Well, do we want to get Todd on the phone?
What's that?
Do we want to call Todd? See what he has to say?
No, you can call him. Kyle could call in if he wanted to. If he thinks it's important enough to be here, let him call in.
He is in.
So anybody else would have to do, if they thought it's important enough to be here, they'd call in.
And I'm assuming he's in Des Moines, I haven't heard. I
He's
mean,
out-
Washington?
Yeah, he's out in Washington right now.
I think he comes back tomorrow.
I believe so.
Something like that. Are we talking about all of these departments that are on the?
Yes.
Okay. And I gotta leave you shortly.
You guys all got an email from Bill Sack, Summit Carbon Solutions. Did you get the email?
Did it just come through?
This morning. It come from their attorney.
I didn't
Did
get
or
that.
not?
I didn't get that.
No, it came directly.
No, I didn't get it.
I don't see it either.
I didn't get anything from.
Maybe it just.
I got an email from Cindy, oh, I did, Cindy Taxi from, letter from Vilsack?
Yes.
Talk about? Yes, I did get that.
You got that?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. I'd appreciate you guys if you'd read it, especially the last paragraph.
Oh, okay.
Do you get it, Trish?
Yeah, I got it. I see
Okay.
it now.
I was kind of skimming through it when they were in here.
Read the last paragraph?
Yeah.
What about it?
Do we want to set up a meeting? Is that what you're asking?
Oh.
No.
We're the second to last paragraph.
second to last.
Oh, okay, I read it on behalf of someone, okay.
Hmm.
I'm sure they do believe that.
Somebody had asked last week or a week before how much we've spent, to Ehlers and Cooney for Tim Whipple's help. So far, it's been $8,030. So just so you guys.
Yeah.
We're caught in between a rock and a hard place.
They don't want us to have an ordinance.
Well, they don't want us to have it, but
I don't blame them for. Yeah.
So what are we doing? Are we gonna start? Or
Yeah. So which would you like to do first?
what's on our list first?
ambulance.
Okay, do you wanna call Phil?
Is he coming in?
Phil's coming back.
Yeah.
You know
We're
Phil's-
just supposed to call him. He is
Would it be better to call a cell phone or?
434. You can try 434 and then you can try that. If you don't know.
Why don't I put the papers in upside down?
Hey, we're ready to go over budget with you. All right, sounds good, thanks.
You put any estimation in for health insurance, 10%?
No, I haven't.
Is that the increase?
Well, that's what they're recommending, but Doug wants to talk to everybody about that to see if you want to take the 10% or if you want to look at other options. So
I'd almost.
until I hear from him and you guys, I haven't done anything.
I think.
If the state's gonna enact this budgetary stuff, we'll have to look at other options.
Yeah, because
We could
we're
raise the
already over.
deductible or raise the out-of-pocket another $500 and we could absorb that 10% then.
Yeah, you just have to raise the deductible.
Yeah. We might be stuck there between a rock and a hard spot too, and just
I
have to
think
make
there's
decisions.
a lot of things we're stuck between.
Well, look at it this way. Last year, our general basic and general supplemental levy was almost $5.
Yeah.
This year it's gonna be higher than that. If it goes to $3.50, then we're looking at cutting $1.50 per thousand. At least.
Pretty hefty cut.
Well,
So
there goes
we're
all
talking
your
about-
discretionary dollars are gone.
Plus,
We'd have to zero them all out for a year.
plus if they pass this bill, that means our valuations are going down.
Yeah, plus the valuations will go down to.
But well,
How do they expect us to operate?
good question. Because general basic is administration, so that means wages,
Yeah.
benefits, all that, courthouse expenses, all that stuff.
Think about it for a while, because you know, who are you gonna get rid of?
And if it passes, if the other one passes, it also means we can't go over 102.5% of last year, which means.
Cuts.
Well, there'd be no way we would go over it because we'd be,
Yeah, right.
there's no
it-
way we'd go over
right,
2.5%. We
right.
can't, it'd be impossible to.
Well, unless you raised our rural, because we have plenty of room in our rural to raise that, but you can only use rural for
Yeah, but
certain
rural's
things.
only
Yeah.
used for.
Rural,
So-
used for rural
Yeah,
basic.
so that's
You
not
don't,
gonna.
you can't use rural for
No.
general basic stuff.
No,
Well, I think the 181, the second one, that you're more scared of, has a really good chance of passing.
1124,
Yeah. Because that's what they want to
that's
do.
the one I don't want.
I know, but I think 1124's got a
There he
really
is.
good
I
chance.
got it.
Still raining?
Still raining.
Yeah.
Wet water? So what do you want to go through, Phil?
Well, Tammy put a lot of work into getting all my stuff into line items.
Yep.
I took it home over the weekend and reviewed everything.
If you don't mind if I explain, how his budget works, Bill? So before, his budget was based on his department.
Yep.
Now, because he has an EMS levy that's paying for it, his budget is by fund. So now he has his own fund, which is 26,000. So everything, will come out of that fund and not department. So, and that fund can only be used for EMS. So although you see printed ambulance, it's actually by fund 26,000. Okay, sorry, Bill.
No, that's fine, that's a good explanation. I appreciate that too. Because it is a change.
Yes.
We made some minor adjustments to get it to balance, and basically we did reduce the salary by $100,000 from the original plan because we lost that extra money from the hospital. So we basically lost a person because of that.
Oh, the hospital's already pulling back their paying for transfers?
Correct. They dropped it from.
So, I guess you weren't here when we went through that. The current contract we have in place expires June 30th of this year, 2023. Roger and I went and met with DAR, some of the hospital board members, Dr. Lampe, Travis Larson from our advisory house. Roger and I went and met with them. They did agree to extend the contract one more year, but only for full rate the first quarter, and then reduce to 50% the remainder of the calendar year.
The reasoning being?
That they cannot tax for EMS. And when we said, well, you can use revenues for EMS and tax for other things, they said they had a loss the last 2 months.
They're operating under a loss in December again.
So do we actually have to do their transfers? I mean, is there any law that says we have to, or can they call the contract service out of Mason City to have an ambulance come over and do it and then?
So she told us, and I don't remember if that was when you went, anyway, Kyle and I went back to them again after we changed committee members. We didn't change anything, exact same thing we had from when Roger and I went. But they told us at the meeting that they have had other counties offering to take their transfers for them.
Okay, we'll let them do it.
If we're not willing to do it.
All right, we'll let them do it.
Yeah, but then you lose the revenue too,
So our plan,
the hospital revenue.
So our plan is going forward is the tax levy that we have is from the residents of Kossuth County. We need to make sure they're covered first. So our plan is for our staffing that's going to be our first priority. If we can find a crew to take the transfer and not hurt the service level we're providing to our residents, we will do so and get paid for doing so. But there is no more guarantee that we're gonna take the transfers, every transfer that comes up.
Or do like they are, do like they're doing in Canada, I guess, just do the ones that don't require a paramedic. Just do the non-serious ones. If they need a paramedic, then they have them take a nurse and send a nurse instead of us using a paramedic.
So we discussed that too, you know, if they would be willing to help with staffing and stuff, and they say, yeah, if we have someone that's willing to do it, we'll do it, but you know how that goes.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know, to me it's.
But being the residents are paying the taxes for the service, we need to make sure we're covering them first. That's my opinion on it anyway.
I understand you can't use tax money supposedly for transfers, but they're still a taxing entity. They still take, collect over $1 million a year or whatever it is in taxes. They ought to be responsible enough to say that, okay, we're getting tax money, we need to,
So the past 3 years now that we've done this, we've taken every transfer they've had that's come up. they have the luxury, they know when they call, we respond, we take the
Right.
transfers. By doing it this way, saying we're not going to reduce the coverage level that the people expect in Kossuth County, if we can find a crew, we're gonna take the transfer, maybe they're going to say, hey, we want the more guarantee, we're willing to put in some money. At this point, that's all I got.
Because what would they do then if we get the transfer? We couldn't do the transfer, they have to call a contract service or one of the other counties that's option.
They called the surrounding counties first and see if they had anybody available. They also have the option of life flight helicopter coming in. If it's truly an emergency.
So why would those other counties want to do transfers if they weren't gonna get paid for them?
They'll get paid, they just don't get the extra money on top of that. So if we take transfers from the hospital, we can still bill the insurance. We'll still collect the insurance money for those
Now, are we
transfers.
getting 100%? And 100% billed amount paid by insurance companies? Sure, you aren't getting enough Medicare or Medicaid.
We don't get
If you
100.
If you bill $1,200, how much are you getting reimbursed?
With the grant program, we'll get reimbursed back to $900 regardless of what we bill.
Spend a day with me.
So we bill 2,000, we get $900,
I'd educate them.
which is better than the $160 that Medicare normally pays. So we can cover our expenses and make some money on doing transfers, so I don't want to just cut them out totally, because it is a revenue source for us. But
Yeah, this one.
on the other hand, we can't not cover our residents.
Yeah, we're working on
Because they're paying money for a service
Why now?
Right.
and then just run to the hospital.
Put it on the top.
So,
So back at, you said they told you they lost money, the hospital as a whole lost money, or they lost money on paying for transfers?
no, just on the whole. The last 2 months, wasn't it, Roger?
What's that?
The hospital running in the red the last 2 months?
Yes, correct. They're in the red again this month.
Their beds have been full since, I don't know when.
They have, I think they did quite an increase in wages, and I don't think they adjusted their charges for what the wages reflected.
No, I
and-
knew they were gonna have, but they do the payroll survey or whatever, comparables.
Right.
And I figured I knew they were gonna have.
They were
to
behind.
jump it up.
Yeah. To keep good people, they gotta pay wages. But their revenue stream hasn't outpaced their wage increase.
And it's also how you account it.
Well,
You can make anything look in the red.
yeah, because really the doctors have nothing to do with the hospital, and
Correct.
yeah, and hospitals technically don't ever make money. They provide a service for the doctors. Is that the wrong way that's the way I think of it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they provide a building and staff for the doctors to work in. And they really, no way are they going to be a big profit center.
I don't know what they paid Mercy. Yeah,
I
I'm sure they
don't
have because the
Yeah.
doctors are employees of Mercy, not of
Right.
KRC.
Yep.
The nurses are employees of the hospital, not Mercy. That's,
I'm not so sure that the doctors, nurses aren't even paid by Mercy, and the doctors benefit 100% from the nurses that.
Mason City recently made a deal with the hospital over there that they do not do any transfers at night. They only transfer during the daytime. And that's a major facility that's taking critical ill people, more critical ill than we have, somewhere else. So they've made that change now, so I'm kind of curious to see what happens there.
So their only option is get critical, a helicopter then.
No, you could die.
Well,
That's always
or-
happened too.
Yeah.
Or I guess they could call a contract service.
And there's dates that, there's certain days that helicopters can't fly, based on freezing conditions, you know, that kind of stuff, but we try to help out the best we can in those conditions because these people are our residents too. But there's a fine line how we wanna do that.
You can come back, Carter, after dinner if you get time.
Yeah.
We'll probably still be at it.
Considering, or I should say, I'm considering, we haven't taken the advisory council any further yet, but
Thanks,
these
Carter.
transfers at night, a lot of transfers that we do at night do not need to go at night. They just merely want them out of their ER so they don't have to have a staff member sit there and watch those people. So they want to turn them, they want them out of there. For example, if somebody has a broken arm that needs surgery in Spencer, they're not gonna do that surgery that night. They're gonna do pain control until the next day when they do a surgery. There's no reason that they can't do that pain control here. We take that person when our crew is rested and safe for travel. Thank you. And safer to take the patient at that time. You know, when it's snowing and storming out, we don't need to be out on the road if it's not truly an emergency.
Right.
You know, if it's an emergency, it's one thing. If it's not truly an emergency, do we really need to go at that time of day?
Well,
So I think that's something that we need to look at in the future too. And unfortunately for the hospital, it may mean they have to keep somebody in-house. But if it's for our crew's safety and the patient's safety,
Well,
it's not
when
the
I,
end of the world.
when I broke my leg, I went to the emergency room and they sent me home. Put it, said go to Spencer tomorrow. So I didn't stay.
And we've had some of these. I've had a couple transfers that came in at night that we've delayed till the next morning because of weather or whatever the reason might be. And the next morning I showed up to take those transfers and they said, oh, we're not gonna take the patient now, we're sending them home. But 6 hours ago in the middle of the night during the snowstorm, it was emergency that they had to go and the hospital got mad at me that we did not take him out. But then the next morning they sent them home and they never went
It
anywhere.
kind of tells you they just wanted to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's tying up the emergency room, tying up staff.
They have enough beds, it's not hurting them for a
Oh,
bed.
but
it's
that's what
tying
it
up
is.
Staff because they,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, that's,
They don't staff their ER full 24 hours a day.
no.
If there's nobody in the ER, those nursing staff go back up to the third floor to
Yeah,
work with
they get
patients.
called down.
And then they get called down, so if they have somebody stuck there, they have to keep a staff member stuck there.
Yeah. We get it.
Right.
It's convenient.
But then we're paying overtime and everything else, so they don't have to.
Yep. Yeah, but that's not their problem.
Right.
It's yours.
So we're gonna look at some of those things, but I don't think we should say we're not gonna take any transfers, but I think we need to focus on our residents, visitors first, and that the best we can.
Or just do that and just, like I said, like the model in Canada, just do the non-emergency transfers where you can just send an EMT and a driver. You gotta have a paramedic and tell them, I guess it's up to them to supply a nurse to ride along.
Right.
No, 11.
Just do the ones that aren't.
That's gonna cut Phil's budget.
That's not an emergency or
Because he's all
critical.
Well,
But the,
Yeah.
the 102, yeah, it could.
it could,
Well, I don't know.
because.
It's gonna be in
Because the
the,
assessed value.
it's the whole budget, so
Right.
get that private budget.
We're just dreaming about Senate files that are running through right now.
Yeah.
Cammie's just hoping they all pass because she wants a little more work.
No, I am not. 181 can pass, just get that over with. 1124 is gonna be fine.
So what's the 181?
181 says, they made a mistake at the Department of Revenue and fixed their, computed the rollbacks incorrectly, and instead of telling everybody, the state counties, once they discovered it, they brushed it under the rug. So we all calculated our valuations on the wrong rollbacks. So the governor put this bill forward to correct it, because otherwise taxpayers will be paying 1.8% more than they should on their taxes. So this bill is to correct that, rollback and figure our valuations correctly, which means we'll have to go back, redo our evaluations, redo our TIFs, and then base our budget on the correct valuations, which is fine. We're ready to do that if we have to, we just need to do it so we can get it done. If that passes, it'll extend the deadline to April 30th instead of March 31st. Okay, fine, just decide something and so we know what to do. The new one, 1124, limits our levies. So before we had general basic max 3.5 and then supplemental, whatever we needed, rural basic 3.95 and supplemental, whatever we needed. Now they're gonna max general to 3.5.
With supplemental.
Yep, and rural at 3.95, and we cannot go over 102.5% from one year to the next.